SeeWahAhSayin.
SeeWahAhSayin.
SeeWahAhSayin. You don't want to miss this unique, informative audience participation, light-hearted show with lots and lots of Cayman jokes, culture, and guests. As we talk about things we say and do, it happening every third Friday on Talk Today.
SeeWahAhSayin is a special feature of Talk Today, jointly produced by the National Museum and Radio Cayman, a language, history, and culture show. Remember, it's every third Friday on 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Proudly sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
SeeWahAhSayin begins right now.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Is it right now, Ray?
Right now we're here.
All right, well, we can call him right now, Ray. In the studio for a monthly SeeWahAhSayin.
I like that. You know.
Right now, Ray.
Some occasions that's not good.
And the excellent company of Dr. Steve McField. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us as we invite our listeners to be a part of this monthly production. Ray has been busy despite what, others may have shared. I must confess, though, I think the staff over the National Archive may have seen a little too much of you this month.
Yeah, that's every month.
But thanks very, very much. So, Ray.
Yes, sir.
The topic this month.
The topic we talked about it must be a couple times on the ads there, but it's guano. It's three topics in one.
Three topics.
Guano mining, phosphate mining, and the railway.
All right, but they all went hand in hand.
Hand in hand, yes. I guess, yeah. Can't talk about one without the other.
That sounds like something that I should be asking. Mr. Steve, thank you, sir, for not only being a resident consultant historian, but for being willing to put up with the two of us here.
Which two of us?
At least put up
he
with
likes me. That's what he tells me. Anyway.
Yeah, hold on. Sir, you have to choose between the two. You're going to pick Ray? Oh, that's not
Careful
good.
Now. See, he was a former politician. So he could diplomatically answer that.
Yes, I'll tell you. Thank you for asking me to come onto the show this afternoon.
Thanks for coming.
And with yourself and Ray and two good people. I always like to come with you people because Ray does a lot of work and you also do a lot of work.
I'm actually gets where you need to go to do the work.
Yes, and he goes he found the archives like I did, and that's his second home now from the museum.
Yeah,
the archives. That's a great place to live. To go. I wish I could.
Yeah.
Have the time to spend all my days there. That reminds me of when I was going to university. I used to spend all of my spare time in the library in the basement. I had what they call a carousel. That means you rent a big table, and all the books you put on that table belonged to you. You had to return them back to the shelf, but no one could take them. I used to spend all 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning there, and sometimes when you hear roaring through the university. 4 or 5 o'clock, and that was me going home to come back for classes at 8:30 and 9 o'clock. I was the only car on the road going up 10th Avenue, going to UBC. You could hear me. I had a little MGA. I have a little MGA with no top, and I couldn't afford to buy a top because I was not rich.
See, that what happened with your hair, I bet.
Yes.
That's what it was.
And all through the winter time, I used to wear a scarf around me. And when it rains and stuff, I used to have an umbrella between my legs and stuff to keep me.
Why the top wouldn't go up?
No, I didn't have a top.
Oh, didn't have a top?
I didn't have a top.
No.
And I used to drive it without a top all the winter in the snow, and people say,
Mr. Magoo?
People say, that black guy, he must be so wealthy, he doesn't put up his top. You see?
Yes, sir.
See, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but that's not true.
Yeah.
Because the perception of that photograph that I was so wealthy that I didn't even bother top to put up my top. I was so wealthy, I was so poor, I couldn't afford a top for my car. So I found the library, and it was 5 floors of the library, and I found a new life. It became a new life to me. And I read everything that I could read and more and more and more and more and more. And Ray has the same
addiction,
propensity.
addiction.
So it's very interesting that he was there before me at the archives. Very interesting because as soon as I got there, And I says, I would like to look at it. They say we know where it is because Ray had been there before.
But I don't tell you like it's my
been there before.
it's my task to find something that you haven't found before.
Yes,
I did it once or twice. I got him once or twice.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that reminds me of the difference between us and the politicians, because they hardly read anything. But we read, we research.
But I Google.
Yes, me too.
I Google.
But when I Google and I'll find a footnotes and stuff, I try to go to the source.
Yeah.
To see what it was, and there's a lot of source and Found It Upon the Sea by Crichton. I have to criticize that book because it's not very good.
No.
All the money we spent is not a great book. He put a lot of the stuff that he didn't understand in the footnotes and left them there. Mm-hmm. And if you have to go to the footnotes to see what he's left out, all of the correspondence and stuff is in the footnotes and so forth. I know you can't have all the correspondence in the main text, but he left a lot of correspondence in the footnotes.
The meat and potatoes.
The meat and potatoes is left there.
Yeah.
So it's so good to come to talk about our heritage, our past. And you know, gentlemen, for a small country, we have a great, rich past.
Tons. I keep
Tons
telling
of
everybody.
it.
Tons. It's not exaggeration. It's tons of it.
Tons of it.
It's too much.
Yes.
And what's unfortunate, though, there is no, I don't know whether it's deliberate on part of others. And I say this not just carefully, not just trying to be respectful, but consciousness, so that we start, as the two of you have truly been exemplars, start to dig into the history. Talking to people, I mean, just this topic alone, we just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
And there are some, sadly, the elderly people, as they maybe forget, don't accurately recall, sadly as they pass on, some of this history, this information is passing within. And there are many of us, as educators, as parents, even as people who think we're astute and intelligent, we're unaware. We're not even sure that we even know about this thing. And some will remember, there's a railway, but was it here? Was it there? What was it for?
Well, I'll tell you something about that. One of the people, I guess I can call his name, Mr. Descartes. Mm-hmm. He was saying that one of his children had presented a paper in school talking about just that, the Cayman Railway, and they were dismissed because it said there was no such thing.
Yes.
So look at that. That's our educators. Mm-hmm. I won't say where they were from, but I think I know where they were from.
Well, it is unfortunate across the board, and this is why I'm hopeful that in our deliberate attempt at making it jovial, this is as accurate as we can make it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I don't have mistakes in there.
You sit next to me, so probably they are.
But I would actually like and welcome the people to correct me, so we'll have that discussion.
Like, who's going to correct you?
Well, who's
going to correct you?
I'm hoping
because I just several days ago there was a dialogue between myself and some politicians on the radio. And I was talking about some historical facts, some historical phenomena, and he rightly told me that history doesn't have anything to do with it. History is what's already passed and gone, and it has no.
History is the DNA, though.
He said it has no value. It has no value now.
No,
when I went off to university, I was so surprised that one of the first things that I had to do. It was not a prerequisite. It was part of my place to get my course to get my degree. Was a lab science and the history of the country that I was studying under. That was Canada, Canadian history. You had to know that. That is because that's the foundation from which their society springs. From which all of the ideology and all their policy are perpetuated today.
I keep telling people you see the future when you're looking at the past.
Exactly.
Like this subject here, you see there was this mad rush for this one industry and it fizzled out.
That's right.
Like everybody was, phosphate and it fizzled out.
Yes.
Just like could be tourism, it could be banking, it could,
As it is, apt to repeat. Gents, we do have a call to join us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Steve McField together with Ray Banker. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ray.
Good afternoon. Before you start, can I ask a personal question? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do you like it?
No, don't answer that. No, the reason why is that I can hear you, I can hear our guests, but I can't hear myself in the headset.
Oh, that's all right.
Well,
Okay.
okay.
You hit that.
No, I think I need. Fox, again today, I cannot hear myself at all. Okay, but go ahead, sir. I can hear you. I can hear the caller. I can hear our guests
can
in
hear
the
me?
studio, and I
Yeah.
can hear Ray. I can hear Dr. Steve, but I can't hear myself. All right, but anyway, thank you for joining
Probably
us.
need to put some cotton and alcohol. And stuff
No,
in
I think
here.
we just need to go to Rooster and borrow some of their equipment. Good afternoon, KB. Thanks for sharing with us, man.
Yeah, good afternoon. You all talking about history?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Back in 1995, I went to a gentleman's yard to get my car tinted. And while I was in his yard, an old man came outside and he asked me what it was for. And I told him my mother was Miss Daphne Orrit and my father was Caleb Orrit. They call him Mr. Buddy.
Buddy.
And he said, "Oh, you Charlie Orrit grandson?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Did you know that your grandfather built the first cement house in Cayman?" And I said, "Sir, this is the first I'm hearing about it." He said, "Well, I'm telling you the truth. Me and 3 of my friends used to come all the way from East End to West Bay just to look at that house. And I don't see why this old man would have to lie about it. And I don't know if Mr. Steve knows anything about it. But if it is true, I think it's something that should be in the history books when it comes to the Cayman Islands. I think it's something very important that people should know. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Indeed. And there's-
That may be so. It would be good if we could trace that down, because remember now.
I've kind of got some information on it.
Yes.
Because the cement was a technology.
That's right.
And it first was in the Emsley Memorial Church,
Mm-hmm.
I think, with Captain, was it?
Captain Rail Barton, yes.
And my grandfather, which is actually Charlie Orritt's brother, I think, or is it the same one? Yeah, I think. Well, they're definitely related. The Orritts and my grandfather, Ebanks, and he was a foreman. He was one of the foremans with Captain Rail, so he brought the cement technologists to West Bay with the West Bay Town Hall. And I guess anything left over, he used it on his house. So he had one of the first wood cement porches, and I think the one down by the West Point, little back of there. Yeah. That was apparently his land first, and he built a cement. Well, the porch at least was cement. So it was a technology. Not everybody had it.
Exactly. And I would just say, Captain Rail had to go to Kingston, Jamaica, to learn the technology and understand how the mixture of the mixture before he had built the town hall and the post office and all that stuff, and then even then the blocks that they made from the cement that was imported from Jamaica was all made by hand.
Yeah, there were the form and stuff.
the
You
forms,
actually see
yes.
the little. You can see some of the buildings that you have now. They have one block that's has a surface to it, like a textured surface.
Yes.
Apparently, that was one of the formers, and I got a notebook with my grandfather saying how many blocks he laid and how many blocks they made and stuff that day, like under town hall.
Yeah, you see?
So,
Wow. All right, so Jess, when we come back now, let's continue
maybe
talking
30s,
our
20s?
history.
30.
Yeah, early 30s, late 20s.
Or
There
maybe
was-
maybe sooner than that.
I
But anyway,
know.
yeah.
And we look at this whole idea of phosphate, because, I mean, Ray got me saying...
Phosphate, guano. Guano.
All right. Join us when we come back for more
It's the
of a month to
female-
see what I say.
Female guano.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think best place to work.
When dependability matters, think outstanding workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner? Think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
Sounds of Expressions,
a Toastmasters event on May 29th at 6 p.m. at the Georgetown Town Hall.
An evening of intimate poetry and live music displayed by our Toastmasters and local musicians.
Admission only $10. All proceeds go towards our youth leadership program.
Come on down and support our youth as it promises to be a night of captivating entertainment. Sounds of Expressions. Tickets available at Sings Rotary Shop, a Toastmasters fundraising event proudly sponsored by Radio Cayman,
Star 92.7, Audio Wave,
The Performance Lab,
Fun Fest, Acorn Publishing, and Sings Roti Shop.
Support our port, support our tourism.
I support building the piers because the cruise industry puts millions of dollars into our economy each year. Without that revenue, young people like me risk facing an uncertain future. Learn more and spread the word.
Looking forward, looking bright. Support our port, support our tourism.
Headlines. With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
SeeWahAhSayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. SeeWahAhSayin.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us as we invite you to be part of our monthly SeeWahAhSayin with Dr. Steve McPhail. And Ray, it truly is, as Dr. Steve shared, the amount of history. It is not only that it's fascinating, but it's something that for a small place, it almost seems in some places.
For the land area, for the population, it don't make sense. It don't make sense.
It's so vast. I mean, given the
the variety, like what Steve says, what happens when we go archive, we're there, we semi-focused, we're there on one topic, and then you get sidetracked, like, what is this about? And then you start going off on this, and you get into a whole different other cavern of information stuff that you never knew about.
Yes. All right. So, Jess, we have another caller join us. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
And Dr. Steve.
Good afternoon.
And Mr. Ray Banker there. It's wonderful to hear you all, dear. This is something I look forward to.
Yes, sir.
And as Dr. Steve said, the history. And we have to learn from our history, and we have to keep it, because that's the only thing that will try to keep Cayman's culture going as we know it when we talk about Cayman. And it's very sad to see how diluted and how we're willing to let it be diluted and changed up on things that were facts. We're trying to change them and now make them into like myths and make believe, and maybe so because it was Caymanians telling you that. Dr. Steve, I listened to you that day, and I was aghast at that particular MLA's response about history.
Yes.
I was to the point where I couldn't, find words to, because the future never is, never was, it always shall will be. We know the future is coming, but the past we have with us, and we know about it, and we should try to keep it in mind, and the things we learn from it, good, bad, or indifferent. The present is here today. But we have to keep digging into the past, the history. With the cement thing, we've got to remember that the old St. James House, Pedro Castle, that was built on the blocks held together with cement made from the limestone rock.
Yes.
And it was mixed with pan soles and different things.
The daub.
A lot of friends tell me that that made that cement, but the lime is an important part of Portland cement. This is cement we use. That's from 1780, and there are other old wattle and daub houses. The wattles would form what is now steel today, and hold it, bind it together and form the strands of it. People who know about construction know a heck lot more than a little bit I know. And with the blocks being made, that is true. Mr. Real Borden did go to Jamaica, and I think it was the Douglas family there, because the Douglas family were the big block makers and the only people I knew and that were doing that in big ways in Jamaica at the time, from 50, 60, 80 years ago. But I believe it was that family who showed him about the block making. And of course, that consists of very finely ground up rocks and then the sand mixed with it, and you get that composite that will hold it together as a block. I think they were all solid blocks, because there are other houses built in West Bay in the 40s and 30s too, from those same cinder blocks, I call them, big solid 8-inch and 10-inch blocks, and the others. But the wattle and daub structures were there, and they were building cisterns with them out of that, I think in the 1890s, but Ray, you can check up on that. You're a man digging up into this.
Yes.
And Dr. Steve also. And I really appreciate this. Your unwavering attempts to dig back into our history is so important. What you said there, Ray, about the people not knowing even simple facts. And I found, I don't want to go into this very well, because I am sort of putting my neck at risk here. I've talked to a lot of school children all the while. It's in my job, in the course of my job. And teachers also. And I've found the appalling lack of knowledge of many things. It's astounding, because the teacher should know this. I found 13-year-old students who did not know our motto, and the teacher did not know it either.
Well, sir, let me tell you something. In 2010, when I went to the Decolonization Committee meeting, and I was charged with my delivery from the cabinet, what I should say and what I should do. When I did that, the chairman of the Decolonization Committee said to me, "That is the government, your government official presentation. But surely, Mr. McField, you have been in connection with the United Nations before. Certainly you have your own views, and the floor is yours. If you want to express them, let us and share them with us." And I took an hour and a half, and I tell you, I took an hour and a half, and some of the people who were there, especially the Jamaica ambassador to the UN, she said to me, "I never knew that history between Jamaica and Cayman. This is the first time I'm hearing that." And she said to me, "How do you remember all that stuff?" And I said, "Well, it's easy, because I love doing that sort of stuff." And the problem is that she didn't even know that there is this rich, huge history between Jamaica and Cayman for so many hundreds of years.
So many hundreds of
years. It's there. It's something that you cannot deny. It's there.
You can't deny it.
You see, it's there. It's there.
You can't deny it. There's a deep history about, I was urged by my good friend, he's passed away now, David Pineda, to write something about my father, because my father is very involved in many of the things. He used to take big fishing boats over to Cayman Brac and go for groupers. Cayman Brac was a grouper place in the 1940s. And I was speaking at us on the radio if anyone could contact me, gave my numbers a couple of years ago, and talk about those who knew my father and went over to him. He took a lot of people over there. Some never came back home, children, grandchildren born there. And when he went over in that particular trip, 1948, this Cayman Brac gentleman was telling me, he had called, that he remembered my father. He was like 12 or 13 years old, and he came for groupers, and several of the Cayman Brac boys said, "Captain Sir, we're going back over there with you, but we can do some work over there with you, the turtling and shipping turtles through there, and all building boats." And they went over with him immediately, jumped on board as crew. And my father used to call your grandfather, Lemuel McField.
Lemuel Richard
came over
McField,
there
yes.
to help him build boats. I remember him, a tall man, and coming over. What a little
One of the
boy,
strongest
10
men in
years old.
Cayman at the time.
Yes, big,
Yes,
tall man. And
yes.
I remember my father saying, Carrie, I'm going to send for Lemuel, and he'll come over. He's the best oddsman I know. We're going to need him to do this work. And he called or sent a message somehow. I think there was a telephone somewhere in town there, Mr. Christian used to, or somebody, and sent a message to him. And he came over. He just jumped on all the boats,
Yes,
over, the Kirk boats, and that's crew and come over and so forth. It's a rich history over there, Captain Bonnie Dixon, all the others, Tideman Dixon, many others, Henry Watson, those guys. We could write books about it.
As we
Anyway,
should.
Just listen on. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for calling too, sir.
Thanks for that, and thanks for listening too.
Yes, thank you very much. As our caller was sharing, if I may, as we're going to focus on guano and phosphate, it's not an exhaustive list. I just quickly was just writing down and thinking of the different industries, so to speak. Right.
Yes.
So turtling, cotton,
Yes,
rope. Right.
Yes, yes.
Phosphate, of course, hardwoods.
Yes.
Right.
That's the first one.
Yeah, coconut, shipbuilding.
Yes, horses.
Horses, right?
Yes,
Horses too?
Yeah, we used to export horses to Jamaica.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is something that I think
Shark skin.
Yeah. Shark skin, sponge.
Shark skin.
Yeah. I mean, without even was it just brainstorming? Just quickly, what can I remember from what little I know? And Ray's point: a small population, a relative small island, with the sort of impact that it had on global trade, as it were. We talk about people from here, Mr. Steve. You shared with us many times, trading with not only the New England coast, but going up to Norway, Denmark, right?
All those places.
The Nordic countries.
Boston.
Yeah.
Wow, Baltimore, New York.
Yeah. But from that perspective, and as Ray was looking at some of the topics, and we're looking at the industries, the notion that even in some parts of Grand Cayman and Cameron, I don't want to give away too much, some parts of the Cayman Islands, we can still see, I think Ray still see remnants of the railway.
Yeah.
Right? But some of us don't know, well, what is that? Was that a bad workmanship by Public Works way back then? No, those guys were there. Yes. But Mr. Steve, help us to put us on track, and Ray.
Well, Ray,
you want me to
start
it?
Yes.
Okay, guano. We talked about it. Guano, and he had guano definition, same as phosphate, and also the railway or the railroad. Guano is they were considered white gold at one point. It is also we talked about it being bat poo-poo, bird poo-poo, but it's also bat guano. But right now for us, we're talking bird, and
but not just birds, right? You were specific in the research, not just birds, but seabirds.
Seabirds in particular, because of their diet, and for this phosphate to form, it has to be a special condition. It has to have these bird colonies, and they have to do the bird poo-poo and the shells and the feathers and the skeleton and all thing like that. And it has to have a dry, basic limestone bed to be on top of. And there's a reaction that happens with that guano with this calcium, the limestone, and then it forms the phosphate rock, I think. It changes it. And so that's it. It's a condition, because there's another guano. They have like a... what is it? What is the other one? The nitro? What was that? It's found in Peru, so it's formed a different way. It's a fertilizer, but it's formed like with I forget what it is, nitrate or something. So we were one of those conditions, and it was amazing because when you realize that this phosphate or this guano was 10,000 years old. And it was up until this bird colony was probably up there till the 18th century, because it's still found. I think Patricia Bradley in her research I come across had that they found the feathers of this bird, and it was a particular bird for us, or one of the birds. Anyway, the major one was where did I have it? Shearwater bird, a shearwater. And you can Google that what that looks like. So it's a seabird, and again, every bird has guano. But in particular, the seabirds were better for phosphate because of their diet, their fish and seafood diet. And that helped. That was the reason why phosphate was made. And like I said, they were likely decimated, the birds that were in our islands. And you got to remember too, when they researched that, it took me back to what the islands looked like. It was like a little reef. We're basically a coral reef that came out of the water, and when the seawater, the levels rose and fell, and then there were swamps. So these birds were using us for a colony, and they did their thing, built up this mass of guano, and then the islands formed. And I think it's important to see that where they found most of it was in West Bay, Georgetown, and these certain areas. So it makes me think of when they were saying how Grand Cayman was actually 2 islands, or at least 3 islands.
Yes.
So these rock outcroppings, I think, were the major thing, and then probably the mangroves filled in the rest of it.
Okay.
So it was interesting for me in that point.
Yes.
To get to see.
As we go on, one of our callers, and I'm going to get to asking us, one of our listeners asking to spell the guano as you're looking at it. But going back to it,
we don't spell it.
No, we don't either. It is interesting how the word has come about. And
yes, I have. Sorry, I could do it. I should have done the definition of that. The origins of it is an early 17th century word, and it's from Latin America Spanish. And so whenever I see a word with guano and iguana and stuff like that, I automatically think the native peoples, and I think that was the origin of it. And it's from Juano meaning dung, like with the Peruvian natives. And then the Spanish, we called it that to change that to guano.
Which is Guano?
Guano, not
right.
A that I keep saying.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And then, of course, but it comes back as one of the sort of, how do you say, legs of this journey that Ray took us in. The words of the early...
Well, we are a language show too, so I try to put that a little bit in. But so the not Taino, but the native people that were here that always get overlooked, that were using this natural fertilizer, because that's what it's all about. It's a fertilizer.
Yes, it's a fertilizer. Yes.
Yeah. And something too, when we're looking at it, we're never talking as some of the people around the world. We're talking about millions of years and billions of years. 10,000 years, a relatively short time. If you look at Chinese history, they can go back and almost measure it. So in 10,000 years or thereabouts, we can see the formation of this. It makes me think that our people were here, at least traversing the region, even before, Columbus got lost and sort of found his way by my ancestors, tell him, hey, bro, let's see where you are, right? Because if we look at the Chinese coming as far as North America, right? By the way, before we get too distracted, so guano.
So this all started in 1840s. This fascination with guano, and 1840s was a guano boom worldwide, and by 1850s it was so valuable that the U.S. I think their Manifest Destiny Act came about. Came up with the Guano Islands Act, which said basically they owned any occupied island with guano. Can you imagine that?
That's right. That's why they own Swan Island and all those places.
Yeah. So they passed a law. All right.
Guano's Island Act.
Yes, Guano's Island. And any island that had guanos, they would belong to them. And their manifest destiny that no other power had the right to come into the Western Hemisphere and take charge.
That's just the nerve. So that's what, because it was called white gold.
Yeah, white gold. Yes.
That's one of the white golds, because it had sugar too. That was white gold. And so that was 1850s. Yeah. And then where it started with us was specifically 1883. With William Eden. Now, the last caller, now he'll probably be able to give us some information on who that was and what the story was with that. But William Eden in Georgetown decided he's going to test some of these rocks into all these places, for the last, that would have been 30 years or 40 years. This guano thing has been, this phosphate thing has been going on. So he decided to test his to see if there was anything. And it found there was some high-grade fertilizing properties on his.
Where he took it, Jamaica.
To Jamaica to get tested.
He took it to Jamaica, the chemistry labs in Jamaica. Yes.
And see, this is why I think as we look at the history, right?
You see that that's why I'm saying how we connected with Jamaica.
Of course,
yes.
Britain is this great colonizer, has come in. Jamaica has the natural resources, large island. They brought that as their sort of headquarters for the Caribbean, right?
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
As they moved out,
they were a major money earner, Jamaica, for centuries.
Yeah. And see why they would want to hold on to it.
Yes.
So when we think of British Honduras, British Jamaica, all part of that empire.
Yes. And as Mr. Banker said, they took it to Jamaica to the lab. He had his tested.
And so within a couple of months, 1884, they were operating.
Yes, because he got a man named John Orrit interested, who was a wealthy merchant
in Jamaica.
And he invited him to invest, and he sent a man down here called an N.B. Powers to Georgetown to investigate the matter. And when they found out that, we hit on something here, we hit on this, on something here that's going to make us money.
White gold.
So they form a company called the Grand Cayman Phosphate Company.
Then there was also, I got to look at it because I haven't heard of it before this morning, Jamaica Phosphate Deposit Company too.
Yes.
So whether that was Mr. Orrit's.
Yes.
So I've got to look into that, see if there's anything that.
Yes.
But it seemed like it was just a gold rush. Like within a couple of months, everything was operating. Then the next year, a company from Baltimore, Carib Guano Company, was in the mix.
They got into the app too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this was Georgetown that where they were primarily focused on at first, and then and can we talk about where that is?
They said it was Mr. Eden's land. So you know where the Eden's land was? Well, you know where they say Eden Rock. That was all Eden's land up behind there, where you see Mason Collar's office is all there. Up behind where Triple C School is now, all behind there.
And is that why by Maples there's that depression?
That's
what you were talking about.
Yes.
I thought it was brain on it.
Yes, and when you go up behind Triple C, you see all of these huge rocks that seem to come out the ground because that's where they mine them. That's where they mine that whole cliff behind there.
And like I said, we were talking. I always thought that was just the marl they were mining, but that's actual phosphate mining, right?
Mining,
there?
yeah.
Okay.
All behind the University College, behind there, all those houses behind there.
That's carved. That rock that's carved down.
Rock that's carved down. Now, what they did now is that investment brought a lot of things like lighters to ship the iguana on the board the ships. Tramways
and lighters, because I had to look up lighters. Lighters is basically a little small barge.
Small barges, yes, and brought all of those things. It brought tramways, and of course, this is something that's
our railway now.
It's exciting. They had to lay down rail to make it possible to get the rock from the mines to the ships. And so they decided to railways. Mr. Banker will tell you there were two sets of railways in Georgetown.
At least, if not more.
At least,
yeah,
it's some more. But the two that we actually know about, that Hearst said that they existed, was the railway at Lambert's Dock, which is the old warehouse dock down there where now we call it Port Authority, and the all the railroad at the little dock. What do you call it again?
I call it Little Dock. Well, that's why I thought they were saying Little Dock.
The little dock right across from the museum where the old government boat used to be, hang up there right across from Webster's store, right across from the chapel church.
The Viking Gallery.
By the Viking Gallery. That's where another shipment point was, and the railroad would go down there. Now, Mr. Banker was telling me
there was one. You can actually see some remnants of it now.
Exactly.
If you go to Pirates Landing now, is it still Pirates Landing?
Yes, go to Pirates Landing.
There's a cutout of the Iron Shore right there where the lighters apparently would go, and the railway would have went
there too. And
but it must have been all over the place.
And they talk about mules, and Banker hooked that up with me this morning. They were using the mules to pull the railroad cars on the railway, not men pushing it. That's what I thought at first. But they had mule
pens. They had mule pens.
They had mule pens in Georgetown. They had mule pens in Georgetown, and they had mule pens in Georgetown, and of course, people to take care of the mules, and it was just it was the whole industry itself. Yeah,
they said 25 to 50 people were employed at those two companies. So for a population of what at that point? How many? 1,800, how much that would be? 4,000?
1,800 people would probably have been about 2,000 odd people.
Mm-hmm.
But they brought people from Jamaica too.
Yes.
They brought in a lot of workers from Jamaica.
Yes.
They brought in a lot of workers from Jamaica.
And to be descriptive about that railway, it's not like a choo-choo train or anything like that. It's a mining track.
Yes.
So it's probably like a 4 foot.
Yes.
4 foot track. With these kind of open, I thought it might have been like you remember the Western movie, in the mine, and you see this kind of little container and they run in and out. But it's probably just like a pallet type thing. And because they were sacks, apparently they would go in, you would have to fill sacks and then put them on top of the thing.
Probably croaker sacks or something
croaker sack, 100 to 200 pounds. Croaker sack.
Yes.
All right. Gents, I got so caught up I forgot. To our callers online.
Oh, yeah, we're on radio.
Yeah, we're on radio.
We're on radio.
Okay, yes.
And Steve, we're on radio.
So, Mr. Fox, we'll take the break, take the news, and then come back. All right. Thanks for that accommodation. To our callers, don't go anyway.
We'll be here.
We'll be here. Stay tuned.
Business owners, managers, and marketers interested in learning how digital and social media marketing can help grow your business? Join Yellow Media Group Monday, May 27th at Yellow Digicon and unleash your company's digital potential. Learn from international digital marketing and social media experts, including speakers from Google and Matchcraft, plus a Fortune 500 digital marketing strategist. Complimentary registration for Yellow Media Group customers. Register now at digiconcayman.com or findyellow.com. Presented by Yellow Media Group in partnership with Google.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen, and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Are you seeking information on the proper process to start constructing your home or development? Do you know how to apply for a building permit and inspection? Are you up to date with current building codes? May is Building Safety Month, and the Department of Planning has a number of events to help you stay up to date with the building and planning process. To learn more about Building Safety Month and the training, information sessions, and demos offered for free to the public, visit planning.ky.
Tourism is estimated to contribute 25 to 30% to our GDP, and 80% of our tourism industry comes from cruise. You do the math. It's time to build the piers and protect our cruise tourism industry into the future.
Looking forward, looking bright.
Learn more and spread the word.
Support our port, support our tourism.
How would you like to drive off in a brand new 2019 all-white Mercedes-Benz CLA 250? On Saturday, June 1st at Mango Tree, you could be that lucky person. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents its annual charity fundraising event, Benzarama 2019. That's right, one lucky winner will be announced at the Mango Tree on Saturday, June 1st, and that lucky winner could be you.
If you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance.
Tickets are $25 each, or 5 tickets for only $100. Proceeds from the funds raised go towards various Lions community projects. Tickets can be purchased online at eventpro.ky, or stop by one of our ticket outlets, including Radio Cayman Studios, Funky Tangs, South Coast Bar, Reflections Food for Less, and West Bay Road SO, or can be purchased from any of our active Lions community members. Benzarama 2019. We are all winners once you support the Lions and our community.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Child Month activities continue tomorrow as the Department of Children and Family Services hosts a Family Fun Day at the Turtle Center. Organizers said that this is a family event and anyone who comes out will have full access to the tourism attraction. Then in the evening, you're invited to the Child Month Talent Expo at the Harkwell Theatre at 6:30 p.m. with the doors opening at 6 p.m. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Talks between Labour and the government aimed at breaking the Brexit impasse have ended without an agreement. Jeremy Corbyn said the discussions had gone as far as they can, blaming what he called the government's increasing weakness and instability. Theresa May said the lack of a common position within Labour over a further referendum had made talks difficult. A female brown bear released in the French Pyrenees has killed 8 sheep in Spain, prompting emergency talks between the two countries. Cleverina is now roaming through the mountains of Navarre, having crossed from Bern in southwestern France. Spanish environmental officials are meeting French counterparts. Some sheep are now wearing tracking devices, and there are plans to deploy guard dogs. And Grumpy Cat, the feline famous on the internet for her permanent scowl, has died aged 7, her owners have said. A statement says she died on Tuesday following complications from a recent urinary tract infection. The cat from Arizona had helped millions of people smile. Grumpy, whose real name was Tartar Sauce, went viral in 2012 after photographs of her sour expression emerged online. Her image quickly spread as a meme. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman. How would you describe SeeWahAhSayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
SeeWahAhSayin.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks. Well, it's the month of SeeWahAhSayin. See where I go and ready to talk today. Slot with Ray Banker. Ray, you're not smiling. Sit next to me. I can't see.
What happened? I'm looking at my terrible notes here.
And Dr. Steve McPhee. Just before we continue with sort of the narrative, let's maybe take a quick pause and then to go to our phones and join some callers.
Oh, right, we have calls.
All right, let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for sharing.
Clip 2.
Good afternoon, Mr. Eubanks.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Steve and Ray.
Good afternoon,
Good
Captain
afternoon,
Paul.
sir.
I would hope that you would have called. Wow, yes.
Yeah. I think I can shed a little light on that railroad there, because it was right between Captain Darrell's that house, Parch Landing there. The next house going to the north of that was Captain Darrell Hunter's house. The railroad went right up along. So I didn't. The iron was gone when I can remember, but I remember seeing the railroad ties there going up to. Because I was also told that you know it's a depression up there on the other side of Walker's Road by the Calvary the church and the Seventh-day Adventist church there.
Yes.
That it came from the railroad went up to there. That's how that come to be a depression up there in that land, because it was all that's it, the mine. But I can, as I said, I did not see the iron, but I remember because it was right up there was a birch trees, a clump of birch trees that ran right up in the boundary, and it was just on the south side of those birch trees. I remember seeing those railroad ties.
Yes.
And there's Captain Paul. There's a picture. It says it's 1938, and it's going all the way to on the dock.
Yes.
Is that the same? Is that part of the same stuff, or that they just use that leftover?
No. That was they had a little hand cart they used to, when they discharged from the ships.
Okay.
They used to put it on that and push it up to the warehouse. That was, I would say that was probably could have been 200 feet, 150 feet. That was not connected to that.
Okay.
So
So
would that be similar? You think?
Yeah, it probably could be, because that was a little thing about. I'm sure Dr. Steve remembers that.
yes, I remember that. So, it's Captain Paul. Now, all of that land up there was owned by William Eden, right? William Eden, because it says that it was first taken off his land. The samples were taken off his land to Jamaica.
Well, I really don't know who owned whose property it was, but it was a sizable property.
Yeah.
Because I said, it's a depression is down in that land there.
Yes, I've seen it.
So that's where, because that's where that comes. That's where I understand that. That's where that comes from. Because I know about where the boats used to dock up. It's an impression in the dock and the iron shore there, where they used to come in there and load it up. So
yes. Yes.
I just wanted to confirm that's where it was. And I personally have seen there wasn't some of the scattered old railroad ties where the rails was fastened onto, rest onto. I seen them myself.
Thank you, Captain Paul.
Thanks for that.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And gents, as we continue with a couple of other callers with the narrative, good afternoon. Welcome.
Yeah.
Good afternoon again, gentlemen.
Thank you again for calling, sir.
Thank you for calling.
I'm so glad Captain Paul called in. Well, knowledge. And, one thing Captain Paul might say all the while, radio, he let me know a couple of years ago, I believe it was, sitting talking with him, there were so many Caymanians who were captains. I'm talking about the more days in the 50s, 40s, that we hardly know the amounts of them. When he told me them, I had to write it down, and so I had no idea of this. And don't know, and we're talking about these people telling us how they built this place, and we didn't know this, that so many were captains, so many. It's unbelievable. Someday maybe we'll get him to tell you on the radio. When you're talking about the bird thing, the standard width for railroad tracks, the standard width that the giant trains run is 4'9". There's a track in South Africa that's 5 foot something. It's a special track. So the trains are designed for that. But what was here was, I guess, about 2'8", I believe, somewhere around that, I understand, the track width. But you're right, mules were used in Jamaica up until the 1960s. I can tell anyone this, the PWD there had mules hired from the people and used, and the government owned them. And they were used for dray carts and all kinds of things all over Kingston, and mostly in the country parts close to Kingston and so forth. But with the bird thing, my father was contracted by the Jamaican government. It was 1961. And to call the booby birds on Pedro Keys, which belongs to Jamaica, it's 80 miles southwest of Kingston, and a big fishing ground, giant fishing ground there. And my father was heavily involved in that from 1939. And they had to bring in the eggs, and he built the boxes himself, and a master carpenter. 20,000 dozen booby eggs were called because they were a nuisance to the fishermen living on the quays, staying on the quays, and a big nuisance to them, the big fish pots and stuff, because that's how it was done, big fishing set, fish pots, and then it was a big delicacy, in Jamaica. I remember working as a young man, customs work in the early 1960s and so, that you'd go and you'd see the eagles, we call them, with the basins on top of their heads. I can see it right now, 60-odd years ago, we were that. and calling out booby eggs, and you get your egg with some black pepper and salt. Nothing was better than that. I can tell you that anyone who can tell you who was around those days, many Caymanians working here.
Yes, sir.
And also, so they were called, they had to call them.
Right.
And I just like to say, when we talk about Captain Rail and all, that's very, very good. Yeah. But nobody remembers the man who did the carpentry, his brother, Roland Borden.
Oh, yes.
I feel bad about that.
Yes.
Because Mr. Roland,
yes.
My father often said, and my father was a master carpenter. The two best carpenters he knew was Roland Borden and Loxley Arch.
Yes, sir.
Master carpenter. Mr. Roland needs to get credit.
He was also an engineer, an electrician, and a surveyor.
Yes, everything.
Everything.
But his grandson, now, I talk to him often. I tell him about what my father said. A wonderful young man he is.
Yes, sir.
But we need to remember about him. A master carpenter. It's he who did the carpentry. Captain Rail designed the
Captain Rail was a designer and the contractor.
And
the contractor. But I just want to ask you, Mickey, William Eden was the same William Eden that owned the Pedro St. James?
He was one of the great grandsons you're talking about.
Okay.
Well, you remember he was married twice.
Yes.
So there are children from the second marriage, like Miss Leone's father, and that Mr. Tan and Miss Leone's father, who passed away now and all that. They're from the second, Mr. Lindbergh, who just passed away.
Yes.
Cousin Lindbergh, from the second marriage. So that Will Eden that went to town there, his, you remember now Dr. Roy's mother, and his great sister, Ross Shire, Miss Ross Shire, who wrote the national song.
Miss Leela Ross Shire, yes.
Miss Leela, that great lady. My mother used to take me to visit her in the late 50s, whenever we were here in school vacation. And their mother was an Eden. I think her name was Antoinette or Nettie Eden. She was married to a Frederick McTaggart, as far as I have it in my notes here in history. And that's where they went. They settled there. That's why Dr. Roy's house was there and all that. And they owned a lot of land there at Eden Rock.
That's right. That's why they call it Eden Rock, yes.
Yes. And then one of them got married to a Kirkconnell also. So that cemented that relationship around there.
And that's the same William Eden that was the Consul General for the United States also.
No.
And for Norway and Denmark.
Yeah, that would have been the old man's son from his first marriage.
Okay.
William Eden, the younger, they call him, and all that. But that would have been a time before that, a good while before this, what we're talking about, maybe 50, 60 years before. So it's hard to try to put all the notes together that I have, but that's about how it is. He's from the second marriage, as far as I know, that part of it. And that would have been in the later years, I mean, the late 1800s, mid to late 1800s, that they moved to there. But you're quite right. It's a very involved history. It's so I can't.
It's amazing, man.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Hey, thank you, sir. Respectfully, thank you. Jess, we got a couple of other callers, and thank them for sharing with us. Good afternoon. Welcome. Hello, good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Yes, Sterling.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Oh, all right, man.
Yeah, good afternoon to your panel there.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yes, Sterling, I have quite a little announcement, quite a big announcement to make here today.
All right. Well, if you were announcing that you were, no, you go ahead, man. You make your announcement.
Are you announcing that you were going to be the next candidate for the northeast for what's northeast Kimmenbrock East?
No, I can't run up here.
Okay.
All right, sir.
I have to run for Mayor Street.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Yes, Doc, it's nice to hear you, and you're playing on the radio there today, reminiscing about some of the history in the Cayman Islands. But today is a very important day for me. Today is a day that really I want to give God thanks for, and my parents and my wife's parents, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, today is our anniversary, and we're gone 50 years today, you know.
50 years.
Yes.
Public congratulations, man. That's
Yeah.
older than Ray.
Yes.
Yes, man. And at the time when I met my wife, you know, she's from West Bay and I'm from Georgetown. In those days, when you go West Bay to say you go get a girlfriend from West Bay, you have to be able to fight. And if you couldn't fight, more than likely you wouldn't really end up with who you really interested in, you know?
You have to run then. You have to be able to run.
Well, you have to stand up and fight. In some cases, you have to stand up and fight, you know? So, you know, I said, well, I have a lot of family in West Bay. I'll just make a big excuse that I visited my family and I'll really visit any girl down there, you know? So, it was always, the guys always seemed to give me a blight because they knew definitely that I had family there. And I want to say a special thanks to, well, my mom has passed away and my dad has passed away. Special thanks to them. And Miss Marion, my wife, my mother-in-law, and her family. And the ladies and the women in those days, I mean, a young guy like me from town now in West Bay, I mean, it didn't run too good, you know, because they didn't really want
you had to run too good.
Leave in West Bay and go in Georgetown, you know?
Yes, I know.
But for some reason,
I know.
I got a, you know, quite a break by being able to visit her quite a bit over the weekend, and you know, we had to ride from West Bay to Georgetown, and we decided to marry on the 17th of May, 1969. You know,
that's great.
I tell you the truth, really, when I think about it these days, in those days, a person in my age now, they would say, well, I get married young like that, it really don't make no sense because, you know, you'll probably be married 2-3 years and you're off, gone about your business, she gone about her business, but, you know.
Well, thank you very much for that. It's great for anniversary. Some people don't live to be that old, much less to be married.
That's right.
Yeah, well, blessings to you, man. Celebrating, I think, you and Miss Rosemary.
I'm glad you survived all them conch shells.
Yes.
Blessings to you, man. Happy 50th anniversary,
yes.
Mr. Lennox and Miss Rosemary. Wow. Well, we're going to celebrate that throughout the rest of the program. Let's go pick up these other callers. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
ma'am.
Yes, hi. Just a quick bit of information. The William Eden that you've mentioned was my mother's great-great-grandfather.
Oh, yes.
Owned a lot of that land in Georgetown that you're talking about. And then Ray needs to remember, I don't know if he's mentioned it earlier in the program, that the museum has quite a number of artifacts.
Yeah, I was getting to that.
Yeah.
Well, I know that we have
the iron wheels that we have were found when we were doing some archaeological work.
Right.
Where Kirk has their big
the bay shore.
Yeah, the base. Yeah. We found some that were thrown in some step wells there, and also I remember
you have some of the rail
tracks that were some of the tracks that were used at a bar somewhere. I think it was in Cayman Brac, or maybe Little Cayman.
Maybe Little.
That you kind of put your foot on to, be up at the bar.
Oh.
So,
and they're using that right now, you say?
I'm not sure, but I know years ago when I visited there. So I think, a lot of the various things Caymanians were into, they reuse things.
So hold on, you were in a bar in Little Cayman?
Ooh.
Just messing
yeah,
with
you walked
no,
into that.
That is interesting. It's mostly probably Little Cayman from what I can gather.
Yeah, so Ray, always can link the museum back to some of what you.
Yeah,
he has. It's in the museum.
You messed up my reveal now because I had all that.
Yeah. That's all.
I'm so sorry.
No, I'm just messing with you. But thanks for that. I was gonna. That definitely was in the notes.
Aditya, just let me ask you this, because I am sort of, I'm not skeptical, but William Eden, I think it was between 1840s and the 50s.
Yeah, but this isn't the same. It was several of them named.
Okay.
Different. This one, unless my oral history from my family is incorrect, I need to check it.
This Anita, this is 1883.
Was William T. Eden. He was married to Mary Ann Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes back. I think his then father was Henry Eden, and then his father would have been William Eden. So
yeah. Well, in the 1940s,
it would have had a different initial.
Well, in the 1840s, William Eden traveled to Jamaica to the governor to present his credentials to the governor of his position as the Consul General for the United States, for Denmark, and for Sweden. That
quite possibly then it would have been that particular William Eden then.
Yes, this one that owned the land here where the stuff was in it, because the governor was very upset that Cayman had not only taken their independence in 1831, but had then tried to become an international country by him being an ambassador for the United States, and Sweden and Denmark. And then the governor wrote to for the colonial office, remarking about it and saying that they could not allow these gentlemen in Cayman to continue this rebellion against the crown. And it was that prompted the Parliament in England to pass the Cayman Act in 1863. That put Cayman under the auspices of the legislature in Jamaica, and gave the Jamaica legislature the power to make peace, make laws for the peace, order, and good governance of Jamaica. That was one of the catalysts that put us on the Jamaica when not only did we break away from them, but we went out and we became Consul General from the United States, Consul General for Denmark and Sweden, and they say that is too much what these guys are doing in Grand Cayman.
Yeah, I mean, because earlier we had, what was his name now? He was had the embassy. He was the head of the Norwegian embassy here.
That's right. That's right.
Not William Eden, but I can't remember his name now. But they were all around the same period.
Yes. Because remember we exported stuff all the way up to Norway and Denmark. Mm-hmm. Our ships are going all the way up there, and at one time we were exporting 1,800,000 coconuts from the islands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why Dr. Lewin that came here to help us with our memory bank,
yes,
and also with our quadrille and our music.
Yeah,
felt when she heard our music that she could hear the connection to like Norway and up in that area. Oh, wow. She could hear some of the influence.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, well.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that.
Thanks for listening.
You should do one if you haven't already on place names in Cayman or the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, we have that as a thing, as a series. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done a couple, and then we've got a lot more. So thanks very much for that. We'll be calling on you.
Yeah, we come look for you.
All
right, thanks.
All right.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks very much. And we do have another caller. Thank you so much for being patient and for joining us. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you, sir?
Not too bad.
Just one bad?
First of all, I would like to say my name is Barry Solomon. A few minutes ago, you guys were talking about great carpenters and what have you. I also have an uncle by the name of Kitchener Solomon.
Oh yes, yes.
His brother was my father.
Yeah, Mr. Lionel.
Lionel Solomon.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Maxfield. I think you had this. Yeah. I think you know him well.
Yes.
I just want to use this podium to ask if anyone. I've been trying for years now. The time I was a younger man, I've been trying to get a picture of my father, Lionel. My father, Lionel Solomon, used to make the little model schooners. He used to build and sell them to locals and tourists. Apparently, there's a few of his schooners around, but it has some other names on them today. What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to reach out to anyone who may have a photograph of my father. I would be more than willing to compensate for a picture of them.
No, I don't. I'm not familiar with him, but I know we had in our possession, or we use it in a music exhibition. Kitchener, because he was a musician, right?
Yeah, so he played the clarinet.
So we had a photo of him, but I think it was loaned from his granddaughter, lawyer Solomon Harris.
Oh, Solomon Harris, yes.
Sophia Harris.
You know, I have been trying to track down a photographs of your dad. The only other place I would have looked would be the old passport office, but I don't know if all of those documents and those photographs of the old passports and stuff that they kept, they took back when you got a new passport, if they got destroyed when the old government house got burned down. Because I heard that a whole lot of stuff got destroyed there, and they just sat there and they let it burn. They didn't even try to save it, because they were. It's like what we do now. We were thinking about putting a new administration building. It's like what we did with this new administration building. We just discarded the old one, and it's still sitting there. We haven't done anything to it, because that's what we did, and they say, but I. That would be the only place that I would be able to go, because he had to have a passport when he traveled, and he would have to have photographs that the government would have to have one on their files.
Well, where would that go? Would that went to the archive?
Right.
It probably went to the archives. Yeah, maybe we could look there too, or maybe we could look there. I don't know, but and then the other place is the archives in Jamaica.
I never thought of that.
Yes, because every quarter or something, the government here had to report and send out documents up to Jamaica for storage, for the archives there.
So Spanish Town?
And report. The commissioner would go and carry his report up to the up to the Jamaica government, and they would put them in the archives there, because when Dr. Pedley was alive, he told me that we only had 15% of all of the documents related to Cayman from Jamaica in Cayman.
Wow.
In our archives. So that's what he told me when he was alive.
That's depressing.
Yeah, he was another great man too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, gentlemen, I just want to say, I was listening to your earlier program, so I said, let me use this chance now, because I'm sure a lot of seamen and a lot of old timers would be listening to this program. So I just took that upon myself to call. I also want to say you guys are doing a great job, Mr. McPhail. You're an incredible historian. Mr. Nicky Hulston, you guys are doing a great job, and I hope and pray that a lot of this is archived and recorded, whatever, so our future people will know. Because
and Mr. Banker too, he is young and he's interested in our historical origin too.
Yeah,
definitely.
And so is Mr. Dwayne. Yeah. I think we are the three that are really interested in it, or at least demonstrate it publicly.
Yeah.
Well, keep up the great job, gentlemen. I'll continue to listen. You're doing a great job.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
You can leave his number.
And once again, if anyone finds any pictures, please, I would be grateful.
And who specific? Can you repeat who again?
Mr. Lionel Solomon.
Lionel Solomon, the brother of Kitchener Solomon.
Brother of Kitchener Solomon, yes.
A lot of people may know my other uncle. He was another man by the name of Carlton Solomon. Apparently, him and his wife was known Miss Solomon at 48 House Street, New York.
That's right. She was the one that took care of all of the seamen on behalf of National Bulk Carriers.
So hopefully that can jog some memories, and I would deeply appreciate anything.
So
Yes.
Barry,
I'll leave his number or something.
Yeah. So Barry, how would people contact you? You want to leave?
525-1145.
525 1145.
Yeah. Well, Barry, I hope you find it, man, because I know what it's like when you're looking for a picture.
It
and you
should
can't.
be, yeah.
I was able years ago to write the U.S. Embassy because he was also a merchant marine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to just get a document that he filled out when he stayed in New York. But that was about it. They didn't have a picture at the time.
You might get some from the NMU then.
The National Maritime
from the National Maritime from the Union in New York. They might have a copy of a photograph there on the old photographs. Yes.
Well, you have definitely broadened my
search.
My hope.
Yes.
Mention of Jamaica and the NNU. So, okay.
Okay, sir. Good luck to you, and let us know when you find it, okay?
Mr. Maxfield, I'll also keep in touch with you, too.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, with that, gents, Fox, you want us to take a break? If he doesn't say no, we'll keep talking. Gotta take a break.
We'll do the clip.
Yeah, when we come back, got something to share from you from the archive as well, so please stay tuned.
Yeah, Mr. Lionel.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
It may be our anniversary at Tony's Toys Automotive Center, but you will be the one celebrating when you take advantage of our fantastic tire special. For a limited time only, buy 1 tire, get 5% off. 2 tires, 10% off. 3 tires, 15% off. 4 tires, get 20% off. Choose from over 2,000 tires in stock and a variety of brands for any make or model vehicle. Drive in today and save on brand new tires at Tony's Toys. Call 623-TIRE. That's 623-8473. Or visit tonystoys.net.
That is the true position at Tony's Toys.
At Flow, we know that 4 are better than 1. Introducing Flow Quad Play. Packed with the fastest, most reliable broadband, the power and control of Flow Evo TV, Cayman's best mobile experience, and tons of home phone minutes, all in one convenient package from only $199 a month. With 4 plans to choose from, you're sure to find one that fits your needs. It's value, ease, and convenience all on one bill with Cayman's #1 network. Find out why 4 are better than 1 with Flow Quad Play at discoverflow.ky. Terms and conditions apply.
Attention accounting service providers. According to the Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorist Financing Regulations, all firms providing accounting services, including but not limited to bookkeeping, payroll, accounts preparation, or tax advice, are required to register with the Cayman Islands Institute of Professional Accountants by the 30th of May. A free lunch and learn workshop will be offered on Friday, the 17th of May. For more information or to sign up for the workshop, please call 749-3360 or email admin@ciipa.ky. For additional information, you can also visit cipa.ky. That's ciipa.ky.
These are our kids, and just like your kids, it seems that what we tell them goes through one ear and come out the other. But guess what? When it comes to making tough decisions like whether or not to drink, note that kids say that parents have the biggest influence more than anyone. So talk to your kids. Let's work together to stop underage drinking before it starts. This message is brought to you by Radio Cayman and the National Drug Council.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner, think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
SeeWahAhSayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. SeeWahAhSayin.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Dr. Steve McField in the studio with Ray Banker and myself as we go through looking at not just the industries, but in particular focusing on phosphate. It's amazing, when you think about it. I've got a clip from the archive I want to share with you. We've got a call online as well, Mr. Fox.
Yeah, take the call.
All right, let's take the call now.
Take the call, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Good afternoon.
Yeah, I haven't been able to listen to all of the program, but you're talking about the phosphate export?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, you might have covered this already, but, the phosphate was mined down there in the Rocky Pond area.
Mm-hmm.
Down in Boson Bay.
Vicksville area, right.
It's different.
It's different in Vicksville as well.
Yeah, I think it is, because the Rocky Pond area is right off the hill there where the lighthouse is at.
Behind the church.
So yeah,
right.
More or less. Yeah, well, yeah, way in back of the church. And also, there was an area, and I think it's still there. It was a small area, but right, not too far from where the high school in West Bay was going to be put.
Down in Brush Tree Hill area.
The pillars?
Yeah, I understand that maybe a little bit of that pillars area was actually infringed upon when they cleared the site for that, but it was mined from there. And you're talking about railway, and I at one time I think there was a little piece of railway down there in Rocky Pond, because if you can visualize from where Rocky Pond is at and go straight across to where the reef starts coming out of the Wicksville area into Barkas, a straight line is not very far. So it, I think that's the way they got it out of Rocky Pond, because it's it's still kind of cliffy down there, but up in the pillars is even more cliffy. So that's some of the history behind that. And I heard when I turned on a minute ago, I heard Mike mention about the coconut. Well, I think a lot of that coconut farming actually was done on Little Cayman and Cayman Brac.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, I think there are records that workers from Cayman used to sail over from East End in catboats over to Little Cayman
to work. Yeah.
To work. They'd come home for 3 or 4 days and sail back over. But in the would be the mid 30s. My grandfather, Captain Samuel Lording Henning, worked for was captain of the yacht Flight, which was the cruising yacht of the Lambert Pharmaceutical Company, which at that time, they were the ones that developed Listerine. So, and apparently, and I was told this by several people, Lambert himself came here. My grandfather brought him here, and he was interested in setting up a coconut plantation on on Grand Cayman. Apparently, my grandfather took him basically all around the West Bay area and other areas, but the mosquitoes were so thick that when they got back to the beach, Lambert said to my grandfather, Captain Sam, I don't know about me doing anything here, because these mosquitoes, I think, would run my my workers off.
Yeah.
My
humans.
And he said to him, he said, well, go in your gas feast and get the best steer you got, and let's butcher them. We can have a party. And he threw a big party on the island right down West Bay. But coconuts was a big part of the economy of Cayman back in those days. Yeah.
Do you when you're talking about Westbury proper, what people would now recognize as the 4-way, do you remember if there were any of the rail tracks in that area?
Where you say?
Like in the 4-way area coming from
Big West Bay.
Yeah, Big West Bay, I guess. Yeah, I was trying to think for those who listen who don't know West Bay proper by the 4-way coming from Norwest Point. Were there any rails?
I don't remember any rails being there, but
Vicksville.
You know, and I think Mike would remember this. Maybe he might have already mentioned it. There was about 100 feet, maybe 75, 100 feet of the real rails. Because I think this stuff that with the iguanas, it was a sort of mini rail that they had. It wasn't the real big, railroad track. But there was about 100 feet of that right up there on the Georgetown dock. Mark, you remember the?
Yes.
You remember the platform that they put?
Yes. That was so. And Ken Captain Paul said this too. That was to move the freight from the ships when the schooners when they came in up to the old warehouse.
To the warehouse, and it was all. They had to push it.
They had to push it out. They had to push it by manpower. Yes, and then they gave it to hand carts afterwards.
Yeah, but it was on a kind of steep incline.
That's right.
And they had to manpower that thing up. And it was I guess the platform was probably maybe about a 30 by 30.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
They loaded that up with 100-pound sacks of sugar that had to wait on it.
Yeah.
So and it's that there's a photo of that in our history book. So that's kind of misleading because it's talking about the railway as to do with phosphate, and they show an image of that. Yeah, and that was just
that was misleading.
For the dock.
That was to the dock.
Yeah, because that was like 50 plus years or something.
Wyman and Poodle and all those people used to push that.
You're losing me there.
Push that,
But Mr. Loxley, anything about Vicksville? Because they list Vicksville as a West Bay mining site.
Well, I don't believe that whole area probably was called Vicksville. If you go and shore straight up. Would be central Wicksville, which would be just south of what's the Cook restaurant, and go straight across. Actually, where the turtle farm property ends, and if you went in from the other side, when you can't get to that point, there is there used to be a steep incline and decline going from both ways. In fact.
But that was a result of the mining?
I don't know. I could, but it could have been because I remember we had some grass species there, and I used to run the cows down there. And sometimes when I would go down that area, I'd actually get a little scared because it was quite spooky. And there was water there. There was water settling there. So,
interesting.
But there's a lot of stuff going on in Cayman that people really need to know about, and
it's probably fault of our own for not being available for. I don't know, not being presented to.
We're not sharing it enough,
Yeah, well,
it's can talk it.
I think along the line we all fell down on sharing it, but when I was growing up in the same way as Mike, it was shared on every fruit tree and every. Coconut tree and and everywhere you went, all that expression was shared amongst the older folks. And the guy that was on the phone before me there, before this call, he another place and that he might find a photo of his grandfather, or I guess his grandfather, his uncle, or his father, would be at some of the main ports of entry, and I think that was but Key West, as Ray knows, there's a whole lot of stuff down there in the Key West Port archives, and if he peruses that.
And I was going to tell him just a search online because there's so many archives now that gone online that you'd be surprised. You can punch in that name.
Key West would be a key one because that a lot of Cayman Cayman seamen used to ship out from Key West many years ago.
Yeah, I found a lot of stuff from some of my family that I didn't find. Like, for instance, I found one of my uncles who was a dentist in New York, Uncle Logan, and I've actually found out the port he entered into the United States when he actually went there and stuff, you know.
Oh yeah, it's, if you got time and you got the
resources,
the research skills to navigate all that stuff that's online, you talk about a lot of stuff. Anyway, good show.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Get back on track with the with the clip, and then I think because we only up to the 1880s.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things in between there, but we want to start loading the clip. I think, yeah. Mr. Fott, yeah, we're ready to go. So what clip do we have here now? Where's my little thing? We have from the archive, Cayman's Memory Bank. What do they call themselves now? Remind me. Can you give me hell when I go back there? This is a clip from the oral history, Cayman's Memory Bank, the archive, Cayman's National Archive. And this is a clip with Mr. Wait for it. Mr. Arch, Mr. Elroy Arch. Yeah?
Yeah.
And it's in, he was born 1898, and this was in 1990, and he's talking to us about railroad and phosphate mining. Whew.
You did good.
Run it.
They had sailing ships going down to England, carrying guano and phosphate from this island.
Yeah.
The canal up there, nail up the breast of Mount Schoolhouse, the canal cut that, where the little boats used to come in and take the guano and phosphate and carry it aboard the ships.
Was it?
They had a railroad on top of a stone wall up there, hundreds of feet up in that land. A railroad built on a little stone wall. That only been taken down here recently. And they used to carry the little hand cars on that railroad, load that and run that down to this canal with the boat and dump it in the boats, take it to the ship. That was done for many years.
Was that the same company that did it down in West Bay?
Oh, no, West Point too.
No, Vicksville.
Quite true.
And were they both?
I forgot the name of them.
Orrit was the company in Jamaica with John Orrit?
No, that's not that name. Probably it might be.
No, he wasn't the man who came here. I'm saying he represented.
I forget the name.
I've forgotten too.
I've tried to remember it many times.
But Mr. Elroy, did the people who worked for that company or represented that company, lived here in Georgetown, right? But they
yeah, the laborers here. They had laborers here helping them. You know, gathering the stuff.
Local laborers.
Yes, they had Cayman laborers working. In fact, they had slaves here.
They had slaves?
They had slaves here in those days.
Yeah?
Yes. Well, I don't know who didn't work at it, but they had slaves many. They had several slaves. My grandfather used to have a lot of slaves. Great-grandfather. My grandmother used to tell me all about it. And that went on. And when the ships carried the guano and phosphate to England, when they come back, the people here would import what necessary things they needed back on the ship. And that's how they lived. When you see beautiful cloth, it was those days it never wore out. Everything came from England.
Well, that's when they're...
Yeah, but a little correction on that. He was saying that they had slaves working on it.
Slavery had already been abolished by then.
Yeah, by 1830s, and this was all the way 1880s, so that was 50 years.
Yeah. And this is, we've seen a couple of times with sort of oral recollections.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, even the attempt to recall the name, was that the Grand Cayman Phosphate Company?
She was right in the Orrit.
Yeah.
But I think it was either been the guano, Carib Guano Company, or the Grand Cayman, or the Jamaica.
Well, Orrit?
Yeah.
Orrit was from the Cayman company came from Jamaica, but
they, I think he wasn't sure whether that was the same one. And I know if at Vicksville it was the Baltimore company.
Yeah, but what he said was true. because the Carib company, that's the Baltimore company, they had a big, what they call a truck store.
Yes.
Where you could buy goods and from the royalties and from the salary that they made, they had a big store that they made, and
there was a lot of infrastructure.
A lot of infrastructure. You could trade and buy things with your stuff. You could buy things for your homes and things that. And remember now that people have started to build structures then instead of the thatch houses that they had been living in. You remember? But because when Corbett
sort of prefab this,
imported
lumber
and things like that, they were started to do.
As I was listening, though, two things I want to ask, because even today's language, we may refer to iguanas and iguanas and stuff.
Yeah.
So for people to say
nothing to do with
nothing to do with iguanas.
In that sense, I mean, so this is
although they do dabble in the same thing.
Yeah, and then also he referenced England. But I think, Mr. Steve, you were saying that
he went to Jamaica, and then to England probably,
and then New York as well. We had exports.
He went to New York.
Majority of it was the U.S. Went to the U.S.
Went to the U.S. Yeah. The first after they confirmed that it was rich with fertilizer, in the 1883, like Banker talked about, by 1884, by the next year.
They were shipping
430 tons were shipped to New York. Was exported to New York.
That's what they call a boom. I think everybody must have been hustling.
Everybody was hustling in that.
White gold.
Yeah.
Phosphate. So, and the reason
then that's when the Baltimore investors got into it. The Baltimore investors got into it from
the 85.
From the 85.
No,
after that first shipment, then.
Yes, after that first shipment, they saw the richness in it and the money they were making, and they got into it then.
All right, this is a stretch, right? So I was just looking at that's history in general.
Yes.
So remember in Baltimore in that time, bootlegging with liquor and money laundering. Right?
Yes, right.
So I saw a couple of things where this was part of that funding could have been utilized and expanding their operations. Yes. Who knows? Huh?
And remember now, there's evidence about Thomas Dighton, old Thomas Dighton Conley. He was the matriarch of the Conley family in East End. Remember, one time they owned all the land from sea to sea, from across the island. They were Irishmen, and you remember, I was wondering how did his son get to take schooners up to Baltimore from Cayman?
Yep.
Now you know, not only guan, not only but the cotton also were being shipped up there. And you remember Smiley Conley, who was one of the sons of the Dightons Conley, who went up on the ship and was married to a white American woman.
That's mentioned in that book, the sea captain's wife.
Sea captain's wife, and he, when they put down what nationality he didn't put down that nationality, but he left that blank on the marriage license because his name was Conley, so they thought he was an Irishman. But in fact, he was colored. So we were going to all of these places with the ships that we built, the three masters and the brigadiers they call them and stuff. Can you imagine that? Shipping all the way coconuts to Palmolive Tea Company in New York and in Boston, and shipping fertilizer to New York and to Baltimore. And shipping cotton and all that kind of stuff to Norway and Denmark.
And that's not mentioning all the travels in the region.
All the travels in the region to Honduras and to Nicaragua to New Orleans and to Tampa and Panama. At one time, they say we had the largest shipping fleet in the Caribbean. Cayman Islands had the largest shipping fleet in the Caribbean.
And when you think of our
and then let's get Michael tell them about Edmund Parsons.
Yeah, so the local contact with two of those companies, maybe three, two for sure. The Grand Cayman, what was his name? Phosphate?
Yeah.
And then the guana, Carib guana, was Edmund Parsons, and he was the agent for all these companies. So I have a document even within my family, and it's about Vicksville, and it has my great grandfather giving over portion of his
land.
Yeah, his his brother who was in Rotan. So he was getting his brother to get a little money. So he was given, the document gives his brother, Watson, hold on, yeah. William Watson Ebanks, that's in Rotan, the piece of land that's from their father, Henry London Ebanks. And then within the same day, William Watson Ebanks is given Edmund Parsons has given him £2 royalty for the use of that land. And, it was an advance on the phosphate that was being taken off the land, and that's on Vicksville, and it's witnessed by Joseph Borden, Arthur Borden. And this is 1886.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that was happening. So there was a lot of that happening. You would get land, you get phosphate identified on your land, and then they would pay you royalties. To use your land, and then
tell them how much was the royalties.
This one, hold on here. Let me get my lovely notes. Yes. So William Watson received £2 from Edmund Parsons in 1886, and that would be only $258 from what I can see. But it seems like it must be more than that.
Yeah, but
that's calculated. $258 is calculated today's money, don't you know?
But the royalty was between 5 shillings and 6 shillings a ton.
But this is royalty to use the land, or I think an advance.
Okay. Yes,
and then it's 5 to 6 shillings a ton.
Yes.
For the phosphate taken off of it, and that worked out to be about $33 to $40 a CI a ton.
These days,
yeah.
And the laborers were getting 2 shillings and 6 pence per day.
Yeah, 2 6, which is $15 a day.
Yes, but in today's money.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow. But they had stuff like once they came in, like they erected houses, offices for the company, cars, lighter, like what he said, the truck thing. But it also mentions that we still had the same trouble that we had with Nor'westers. The Nor'westers cleaned them out. They had a dock and everything. This must have been in West Bay, in Northwest Point. A Nor'wester took all that out and they rebuilt it. I don't know.
So they had people to take care of the mules,
the
mule stables, and the boat shed, and the manager's office, and the laborers' houses, and then the Jamaican workers were getting room and board for they were getting accommodation, the room and board.
So and then the later reports talked about it was employment for everybody on the island.
Yes.
So it was a great thing for everybody.
And they had water storage tanks.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, they had
So a lot of infrastructure was put in place for this. And you think about them railway and how virgin that land was. What it had to do to lay that railway too. And going over all those rocks and all those trees and stuff they would have to clear for that.
Yes. And I did a little research to see where would that? You have scholars?
So, sorry, no. He's looking at a clock.
Okay.
News.
Okay.
Can you remind us at that point, Mr. Steve?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry about that, sir.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
See that I'm looking at this. We're gonna get this thing sponsored so it's commercial free. Stay tuned. When we come back, Mr. Steve is gonna tell us some more.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say yeah. I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about. Cause they on sale this month. Dull, teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500, like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Attention accounting service providers. According to the Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorist Financing Regulations, all firms providing accounting services, including but not limited to bookkeeping, payroll, accounts preparation, or tax advice, are required to register with the Cayman Islands Institute of Professional Accountants by the 30th of May. A free lunch and learn workshop will be offered on Friday, the 17th of May. For more information or to sign up for the workshop, please call 749-3360 or email admin@CIIPA.ky. For additional information, you can also visit CIPA.ky. That's CIIPA.ky.
This is JJ the Iceman. This is JJ the Iceman.
This is where the ride begins. A magical musical journey.
Weeknights on Radio Command, 8 to 10.
Music
on
Express.
Friday nights, 8 to midnight.
Music Express.
Radio K-Man's Music Express is brought to you by Taster's Choice, home of the $3 meal special.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Shortly after 5:30 a.m. on Wednesday, a man attended the Georgetown police station to report that he had been robbed. The man had been asleep in a vehicle in the parking lot of a bar on Shedden Road when, sometime after 5 a.m., he was awakened by an unknown man who was armed with a knife. The culprit demanded PIN numbers from the man before fleeing the scene. Afterwards, the man discovered that several personal items had been taken from the vehicle, including jewelry, cash, and debit cards. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, Boeing has completed development of a software update for its 737 MAX planes, which was grounded following 2 fatal crashes within 5 months. The U.S. firm announced that it had flown the 737 MAX with the updated software on 207 flights. It added it would provide data to the Federal Aviation Administration on how pilots interact with controls and displays in different scenarios. The FAA expects Boeing to submit the upgrade for certification next week. In a UK first, doctors have used keyhole surgery to repair the spine of a baby with spina bifida while it was still inside the womb. Surgeons at King's College Hospital say the procedure is not a cure, but could be the difference between some children learning to walk or not. Sherry Sharp and her son Jackson had the operation 27 weeks into the pregnancy. And a dog in northern Thailand has rescued a newborn baby after it was buried alive, allegedly, by its teenage mother. The baby boy is said to have been abandoned by his mother, who is 15, to hide her pregnancy from her parents. Ping Pong, the dog, was barking and digging in a field in Banang Kam village. Its owner says he then noticed a baby's leg sticking out of the earth. Locals rushed the baby to hospital where doctors cleaned him up and declared the baby healthy. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
At Powerhouse Gym, where you feel like home in a multicultural energy environment for all. They are dedicated to helping you achieve your fitness goals. Whether you have decided to get in shape, train for a specific sport, boost your energy levels, or even look your best for a special day. With a variety of sports options, group fitness classes, CrossFit outdoor gym, they provide personal trainers and equipment. Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center, offers a complete health and recreational environment for the only sports and recreational facility of its kind in the Cayman Islands. For more information, call 946-5464. Email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center. Serious results, period.
Hi, I'm Dawn McLean Brady, President of the Cayman Islands Small Business Association, better known as SISPA. Small businesses drive Cayman's economy. As small business owners, we depend on government to create an environment where we, as entrepreneurs, can do what we do best, and that's to provide products and services that are valuable to our customers and, in turn, employ others. The cruise piers and cargo ports provide these opportunities. Encourage our government to build a port and let the Caymanian entrepreneurial spirit shine. Support the port, support our tourism.
How would you describe SeeWahAhSayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
SeeWahAhSayin.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. And I trust that you recognize, as the sentiments earlier expressed, that even though a very small place, a very long time ago, to date, still a rich history, a wonderful fabric. Dr. Steve McField sits with us, and as our consultant historian, Dr. Steve, I think Ray sort of, reminds us of the importance of not only the great resource that is our National Archive, but the greater resource that is our people and the need to record it. Ray, I was just thinking between you and Dr. Steve, if this is not an exaggeration or improper, even us as the grandchildren and children, we got all these little devices in our hands. Just a quick little recording of some of the things that our parents, grandparents, or elder folk.
I think if people want to know what they can do personally, or they think that they can't have input into it, taking photos like this person just called a while back, looking for a photo, things like that. I mean, take pictures of something that you think not is always going to be there, because it might not.
Yeah,
and
to think that, as Dr. Steve was sharing earlier, not just the political independence, the economic independence that this country exhibited, right? The resolve, the resilience of our people, the desire to. I guess it speaks.
And that's sorry to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
That's what I get from this too. Is like this phosphate bonanza here didn't last too long.
No, it didn't last too long.
It was less than 10 years.
And that's because they found large deposit in Florida. It was easier to process, was not as expensive to ship, and so then the Cayman phosphate was not worthwhile.
And then it was. I think you need to talk about the process of removal too. It wasn't any large machinery thing. It was mostly by hand. And they would put it in a croaker sack, put it on the little railways where they had railway, to export it. So, and then just like any natural resource, it gets depleted. It's not a renewable. I mean, let's bring back the birds and wait another 10,000 years to make guano.
Now, Sangranetta tried to revive it when he came in 1903. In 1903, he tried to revive it.
But by 10, I think they tried to get it retested in 1910.
In 1910, but the chemists in Jamaica Cousins says that they didn't have that. It was a very low contents of phosphate acid in it then, and it wasn't worthwhile. It would, in other words, it wouldn't be. It would be too expensive.
Yeah.
To mine it,
it wouldn't be profitable.
It wouldn't be profitable. Yes.
But while we're talking about it, we need to sort of talk about the locations. We kind of skirted around in Georgetown. I said the Walkers Road area, or maybe South Church
Street area. Yes, that would be Walkers Road, South Church Street area.
And then maybe the audience can help us. Egypt. There's a part of there's a Egypt in town. An area called Egypt.
I think that place they call Egypt is right behind Triple C School.
Okay.
I could be mistaken, but I think that's
Egypt.
right behind.
I'm curious to where that name come from.
Yeah.
Egypt. So if anybody can help us with where that is and maybe the origins of the name. And so back to Grand Cayman where the location, and then we talked about Vicksville, which is now West Point. There's a whole Vicksville crowd out there probably listening, knows who they are. And then we had Northside. We had Northside by the mountain where the
mountains where the cave is now.
Crystal Cave
is now. Yes.
Right. So and they were loaded into sacks and then onto boats off the coast. So if maybe it's some Northside, it could let us know whether they actually had a railroad there also. Or they were just brought out of the bush basically with the sacks.
Yeah. Now it was very interesting. The amount of money that people were making those days off their properties and their land, and I was curious about that. So I went and I said, well, what was the cost of living there at the time? And I just took a few items. So they were getting 5 shillings to 6 shillings a ton for the royalties, and people were getting neighbors were getting 2 and 6 pence per day, 2 shillings and 6 pence per day.
Sorry, did we find out how often, like a shipment, how often? Twice a year?
I guess it was just about every time they get a load.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they put it in the boats and crush it, and they went to where they crush it into powder and turned it into stuff. But it was very interesting. I took 3 items: beef, eggs, and chicken. And beef was 4.5 pence per pound. So if you were getting 2 shillings and 6 pence a pound, you could buy good beef. Beef was selling at 4.5 pence per pound. Now listen to this now. Eggs were 9 pence a dozen. Eggs were more expensive than beef. Eggs were 9 pence per dozen.
Wow.
And chicken was also 4.5 pence per pound. So chicken and beef were on the same level, cost level, and eggs were more expensive than all the apart. I guess because you had to bring eggs in from, I don't know. Eggs must been not plentiful on the island. Eggs, because when I was telling a story many years ago about Rossi from West Bay having to carry a rooster up to Northside for Mr. Bunyan Whitaker. And I was telling this story to the school children, and they would say, well, Mr. Steve, why would they have to carry him up to Northside? There's so many chickens now, but in those days there were not a lot of chickens in Cayman. And if you had chickens and didn't have a rooster to be able to fertilize the eggs so that you could continue once you eat them and stuff.
So he was being a pimp? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So and then I looked at the salary of other people on the island. And I looked at the salary of another person. Now, the Presbyterian minister at the time on the island was guaranteed a salary of 120 pounds per year.
Mm-hmm.
So you can figure
no, not with the pence, shilling and pence.
Yes, 120 pounds per year, but that was good salary.
Commissioner was 300, I think.
Commissioner was 300 pounds per year. Yes, and he had a house. He had a house and all the car.
Yeah,
and
they
all
built
those
a house
things.
for him.
Yes. Now Sanguinetti, Frederick Shaden Sanguinetti actually served until 1906. When he got ill and had to go back to Jamaica.
Tongue cancer.
He had tongue cancer. Yes.
Published cigars.
But he was the one that laid out most of the streets around Georgetown.
Well, Shedden Road is his middle name.
Shedden Road, that was his mother's name.
Oh,
it's Frederick Shaden Sanguinetti. The Frederick Sanguinetti, but Frederick Shaden, it was his mother's surname. And he took that name and then he made sure. But I was reading that he also laid out the Crew Road. Now the Crew Road made it easier and faster to go get to the other districts and going all the way around the coast to South Sound and all that stuff. But he gave it in. It cost £700 to build the Crew Road, but he gave it to about 3 or 4 different contractors.
What was Russell?
Yeah, he gave it to 3 or 4 different contractors, and he had 2 engineers on it. One called Miller from Northside, and the other engineer was Millard Russell, which was Miss Joy Hilton's father. They built 3 bridges, wooden bridges over Crew Road because Crew Road was swamp. And they couldn't fill it in at the time, so they built bridges over it so the cars had to run on bridges over the Crew Road. Can you imagine that? So Dart Bridge is not the first one. We built bridges before Dart came.
Crew Road was one of the places that I wanted to do, but they got people listening that know a lot about Crew Road, but they're too shy to come on.
So
All right.
So Fred, so
Call.
San Grenada tried to revive the
1910, like I said, I think was the thing. But officially, I think all those companies left, and they kind of just dropped everything and left people owing money and everything.
Yes,
like that.
that's right.
In 1892.
The Carib company that was owned by the people from Baltimore left people holding the bag. People didn't pay them for their royalties.
Right. And then the local connection.
The local connections,
we got a caller, right?
You got a call?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's join the caller, Mr. Steve.
Yes.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for sharing with us.
It's me again.
Welcome back, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Talking about the place called Egypt.
Yes.
That's right in front of Texaco Tanks.
Oh,
okay.
Right up there and between New Road and Texaco, around that area.
Okay.
And you know the reason for it?
No, I believe someone said that they used to raise a lot of some cotton there.
Oh, is it Egyptian cotton?
Yes. Cotton. I think that's. I remember hearing some of my old people saying that.
Okay. And it didn't stretch all the way up to Triple C or anything? That area, Egypt.
Up to where?
To like Triple C.
Up behind Triple C. Up behind. What's that subdivision?
No. Wait, the Triple C. Yeah. Triple C up on Fairbanks Road.
Yes.
No. That was,
That was Alaska?
No, that was Georgetown, and so Sound started right alongside of that because the arches are on the side of that, and the bushes on the other side. You see what they got now here? So Sound ends right up the road from me. Because so Sound those days was from the crossroad, what you call the old Crew Road, right down to the Pure Art. All about up in that place, up there, and Fairbanks, that was also Sound.
Yes. So Egypt then would have been that area where a lot of the people from West Bay would bring their canoes up and cut thatch and to cut the tops to make the rope.
No, that was Webster. That was Webster Estate.
Oh, near Webster's Estate. Okay.
That was Webster Plantation or something like that.
Okay.
Where the Hines?
Okay. Yeah.
The Hines, that would be the Hines homestead?
Well, that's Webster. That was the Hines property before Webster.
Bought it.
Right.
It's a story behind that. I'm not going to bring that out on the air today.
Not today.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that, Captain Paul.
You're welcome.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Okay, so we were talking about locations. The locations, some of the mining sites. So we've got at least three in Grand Cayman. And like I said, we're waiting for people in Northside to come fill us in with whether we had tracks or anything down by the mountain and the caves. But while we're talking about that, BRAC apparently had at least two places.
Yes.
One was a half mile to a mile on the top of the bluff, and then the other was the west end of the bluff. And in Cotton Tree Land? Is that?
Cotton Tree Bay?
But that's what I just said, the land. So I don't know whether that maybe it went inland from the bay.
Yeah, okay, yes.
So, and it was dug by hand and brought out in baskets or sacks, like 1,000 or 2,000 tons. And then Little Cayman, I think, was the last sort of place that was active. Little Cayman had three places at least. Salt Rocks area, for sure. And it was loaded onto the dock. And I'm curious to whether the dock itself was created by those companies or Captain Theo Bodden, grandfather, had a company there too that employed a fair amount of people over there in Little Cayman. And I think the Salt Rocks area, they have a nature trail right now, the National Trust.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, that might be the actual tracks. That might have been where the tracks were laid. Right. So it's a wide track, like much more than a footpath. I've seen photos of it. And then Little Cayman Museum has an example of what the trolleys would look like, and it's just like I said, a little flatbed thing with 4 wheels, a little axle, 4 feet wide or something. I think Captain Paul was saying something. He thought the tracks itself were like 2 feet. So that's something that we need to get better description of. I think the tracks, the railway thing. And Little Cayman had the mule pens, and I think I actually got a call years ago. Somebody I was asking about it, inquiring about it. And I didn't really know much about it at the end. So the mule pens were like a stone wall, I think, penned for the mules to bring. That's why we're talking. I thought they used the mules to bring.
To pull the cart on the tracks.
And like I said, if you want to know more, Little Cayman Museum has some examples of that. And I think even though the companies, the phosphate mining companies ended or closed, left in 92, there were still 1892. There were still 20s to maybe the 40s, because I was getting reports of somebody in the BRAC, some Scots that were maybe worked on it. I don't know if that was the Captain Theo grandfather's company. But so if BRAC, if you can call, I think you can reach us over here.
It's an overseas call, no?
Overseas call. And let us know. Little Cayman, like I said, where the other places were would be great if they call and let us know. But Salt Rocks definitely was one of the places. And as a result of it, 1892, there was a wreck. There was a wreck in Little Cayman, and it was a phosphate two-mast schooner. And it was built from Baltimore. Yes. So it might have been the what do you call it, company, the Guano.
Yes, 1892.
Carib Guano.
Yeah, that's when they suspended operations, and
it was named the Maggie E. Gray.
That's
and
right.
Shipping phosphate, and it ran aground in 1892. Yeah. So that made it into the paper. That was in the papers, the Baltimore papers, or that I was looking at, Maryland.
Again, the history of Cayman, right? And all 3 islands affected by the phosphate involved.
It's ridiculous.
And we're covering the globe, you know, for centuries now. And people say there's no history here. There's no.
Well, again, every time they say that, and I can see what they're saying. I can understand why they say that. Like, there's no. If you come here as a tourist, I guess, or even expat that's been here, living here years, you would say, "Oh, there's really not much."
And lastly, the loss that came in from that industry. But can you tell me? Could you guess?
The what? The loss.
The loss.
Revenue.
The
revenue, yeah.
£10,000 a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was the loss of revenue from that industry.
And you think of what the budget was for the country then.
Exactly.
Minimum, right?
So the budget was. The budget in the 1920s and 30s was only about not even £1,000.
Not £1,000, yeah. To think about that.
Yeah,
most
stamps. Was it that time? Stamps was the biggest thing.
Yeah, biggest thing. Yeah, but this was a big thing for people.
Stamps was our biggest industry at that point.
Right. Gents, the final break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion. Please stay tuned.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit SeaboardMarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore,
Emma, what do you think of when you hear Toastmasters?
Honestly, I think of people raising glasses and making a toast.
Really? Well, that's far from what we do. Why not come out to our event, Sounds of Expression?
Ooh, tell me more.
Well, it's going to be an awesome evening of intimate poetry, live music, and refreshments. Come out and enjoy a little taste of the diverse talents of our Toastmasters. So, will you be there?
Of course, girl. How can I not? Poetry, live music, food, I won't miss it.
Fantastic. Now don't forget Georgetown Town Hall, May 29th at 6 p.m. Admission only $10.
A Toastmasters fundraising event proudly sponsored by Radio Cayman,
Star 92.7,
Audio Wave,
The Performance Lab,
FunFet,
Acorn Publishing, and Sing's Roti Shop.
Sounds of Expressions. Visit Sing's Roti Shop for tickets. All proceeds go to our youth leadership program.
Hello, I'm Joseph Woods, the Acting Port Director. Our port facility is the hub of the Cayman Islands commerce and economic activity, handling $658 million in imported goods annually. From groceries to construction materials, all sectors of our economy depend on the port. But it is now 40 years old. Its infrastructure is degrading, and we feel the strain from insufficient space for both cargo and cruise operations. The time is now. A new expanded port facility is needed to allow both cargo and cruise to operate efficiently and to support our island's continued growth and development. Support the port, support our tourism, support Cayman's continued growth and development.
Have you just completed a weekend cleanup project? Do you plan to dispose of old appliances, electronics, or even hazardous waste? Dispose of these items at the 24-hour drop-off site located at the entrance of the Georgetown landfill. This site is open to the public daily for your convenience. Do your part. Keep Cayman clean. For more tips on proper waste handling, visit the DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
Headlines. With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
SeeWahAhSayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. SeeWahAhSayin.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us, and really appreciate not only you tuning in, but as Ray and Dr. Steve has sort of encouraged and invited us participate, documenting our history and sharing it. Not just under the tamarind trees, because they're disappearing fast.
Yeah, and the people under the tamarind trees too.
Yes. All right. But Ray, the idea that phosphate touched and concerned all three islands, and to understand how important, Dr. Steve, you were just sharing just before the break, look how significantly, a contribution it made to our national coffers. 10,000 pounds.
10,000 pounds, yes.
Wow.
Can you figure out how much that is?
Yeah, a lot.
Yes. It's a lot.
Yeah, I can probably put it in one calculator.
I was going to do that.
Yeah, look at but that's 10,000 pounds in the 1800s. That's a lot of money.
A lot of people made money. A lot of people made money. And of course they built ships.
Mm-hmm.
And they built ships to can you imagine they bought ships and they built ships.
Mm-hmm.
To traverse the oceans to deliver not only the phosphate but also the cotton and all the other things that they exported from Cayman.
Right. And if you look at this history, generally speaking, and all of the seagoing voyages, I'm not a professor to be a maritime historian, but leaving Grand Cayman, for instance, and going up to the East Coast, they do that often. So they had to be good mariners, and they had to have ships that they knew were seaworthy, right? But they went as far as the Nordic countries in the same thing. So again, it just shows you not only the resolve of the people, their ability, their skills, but their equipment.
And don't forget, they also got contracts from Boston and all those places to build to make sails.
Yeah.
For those schooners of scale makers, that's what we were. That's what we got paid for too. The sail makers for schooners all over the world. That's what we did, and to build ships.
Wow.
And someone should try to revive the shipbuilding industry on a smaller scale, so that young people can have a skill and young people can start to do things. I don't know if anybody's interested. What I'm interested in, as far as the maritime history of the Cayman Island is, I am interested in starting something called the Goldfield Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought about that, but it don't look like I'm going to do that unless I get elected. When I got elected in government, that I could do
you
that.
You heard it here, folks.
So I want to start something called the Goldfield Foundation to build a Goldfield 2 and build it in a place where people can come and see the shipbuilding art, because you still have people who can do it like that, like Heber Arch and Olive can still do the shipbuilding, and they have all them old models from their grandparents and their uncles and things like that. And there was one guy who, I don't know who can rig them anymore, but Ira Walton was a good rigger. rig the ships.
Because that was a separate
that was
science.
a separate science, yes, and use it as a training ship for you boys and girls, so that they can traverse and see and keep our heritage alive.
Because they do have something like that. They were training. There's a sailing ship that comes in every once in a while with
yes, they have them.
I don't know what it's called.
They have them nearly in all kind of countries because remember now, the last big ship that was built here by the Arches, or not the last big ship, but one of the big ships built by the Arches was the Western Union. She's still around Tampa. They were using her to lay cables in the early days.
She's in Key West.
She's in Key West now.
Key West and Key West. And she was so large that they couldn't launch her here, so they built her in pieces.
Yeah, I think that might have been for taxes.
Parts.
Yeah,
for ownership.
Yeah, we heard the story that she had to be disassembled here.
Disassembled here, yes.
Because the U.S. government was using her as part of their operation, so in order for it to be considered an American company. That was the story we heard.
Okay, well, maybe that's how it was, So that's what happened. But the Goldfield is our I have a Bendel hides. I have a photograph of a big painting with Bendel hides with a Goldfield up on stilts, and then down below is the pyramids. What the picture says is the Goldfield is what
the pyramids
is Egypt. The Goldfield is what that is to Cayman. And we don't seem to have any interest in our history. All we have interest mostly is look like is Kentucky Fried Chicken and pizza and fast food pizza and stuff, and then sit around and drink beer and go to Miami and stuff and things like that.
I don't know that that's true. I think if it's how it's presented, that's what there's some truth to what you're saying.
Yes,
but I think if it's there and it's like Cuba, Castro was on when I was over there for 3 weeks. I saw Castro maybe about 6 times. These 3-hour speeches, drilling. So I'm not saying we do that, but I'm just saying there's ways that we should.
Well, respectfully, Ray, the same thing is happening in reverse. We're drilling about the bad of Cayman.
Exactly.
2 things. We take one final call, and the question is answered.
So it works, though. So that's a process.
Yep. Okay. All right, let's take this final call. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello, Dwayne.
Yes, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thanks. Just sort of give a little correction there to Mr. McField about the Western Union.
Yeah.
My uncle prefabricated the timbers here.
Okay.
Set it up and had it all ready for assembling, and then sent it over to Key West. I guess probably by the Adams or one of them. It was actually being built by a company there, or for a company there called Thompson Shipping.
Okay.
But it was being built for the Western Union to lay cables between Key West and Cuba.
Okay.
And in order for it to be registered in the U.S., they had to lay the keel in the U.S. port or in the U.S. territory. That's why it went up there, and they planked it up there. My father and there was about 4 Caymanians went up and assembled it up there in Key West in 1939.
Can you say your father's name? What was it? Your father?
Mr. Will Borden.
Will Borden.
Yes.
And 2 of my uncles, Elroy Arch and Loxley Arch.
Uh-huh.
I think it was Jackson from West Bay too, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I went there, visited there, and saw it some years ago. It had become unseaworthy. The Coast Guard had taken it off. They used to do harbor tours, dinner tours in the
sunset tours, I think.
Sunset tours, yes. And it wasn't seaworthy at the time. But I went down. It took pictures of it all, every wall and down inside of it, and a lot of it looked brand new down inside.
No.
Yeah, but it's now owned. Actually, a few of us were trying to get it here some years ago. They were trying to get it here for Pirates Week, but it wasn't seaworthy. And we tried to buy it after the Goldfield failed. And we were hoping that the funds from that might have paid for it or have paid for it. But it happened that a foundation in Key West beat us to the draw, and they got it. They acquired it. So it's owned now by this foundation in Key West as the flagship of Key West.
And of Florida, I think.
So Tommy, let's ask you this now. The Thompson Company was the same company that owned the turtle factory down there?
Probably so. In fact, one of the people, I think the man was named Norberg.
Norberg too. That's what I was saying. He had the same name as Norberg Thompson. So yes,
that's right.
Yes. So let me ask you something, Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you. Let me. I don't want to put you on the spot, but let me ask you: do you think that we could still do a gold field too?
I would say most of the talent is already going, but it could be possible. I would think yes. In fact, when we were trying to get the Western Union here, I think it was our idea that we'd put it up on shore.
Yes.
So he could see it and not have to worry about it being exposed to the weather.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to have seen that happen, but unfortunately they beat us to it, and they had to put it on dry dock and do a lot of repairs and stuff to it as well.
So, Tommy, let me ask you this again. Would it be cheaper to buy a schooner, say, from Nova Scotia or one of those places and stuff, than to build one?
Probably would be,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised. They might be more equipped to do it and do it a lot faster or whatever.
Could they have a blue nose too, which is I thought the Goldfields will be modeled off of that.
So this used to be owned by Historic Tours of America that have all of the trolleys and stuff. They got several cities in the U.S. that they own this transportation and sightseeing tours and stuff they use with these trolleys and so on. One in San Diego, one in somewhere up in Florida, further up north in Florida, maybe Jacksonville, somewhere around there. Some up around one up around New York. I believe the Western Union, I think, was based in Baltimore for a long time. They used to have train wayward boys used to come down to Florida once a year, I believe, and for the experience. And but it finally came when I saw it. Historic Tours of America actually owned it. They had another one, a black one that they used to use for tours as well. But anyway,
But tell me before you go, do you have any idea what happened to the agreement or contract? I think it was that was between the Arches and Old Cornwall Webster for the gold field, the gold medal, and the Klondike.
Can't really say. I don't know I know much about that.
But that was okay. So would you be interested in helping raise funds to build a flagship for Cayman again, like the Goldfield too?
Well, I would do whatever I could. Yes, I'd be willing to do what I could.
Okay.
I was going to say, my father had a little address at the place where he lived, and when me and my wife went there, we went and saw this little 3-story building, number 31 Simonton Street, right close to the courthouse. That was still there up to a few years ago. It was just as good as it was brand new.
This is Key West?
The place that they lived in when they were there working on the Key.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yep. I like all the historic stuff too. I don't know why people nowadays don't care about it. The younger generation couldn't care less.
They couldn't care less. They don't even know what their grandparents are.
I think it's how it's presented. Like you're talking to them now. They don't speak English. You got to speak another language to them, electronic or something. You know what I mean? So you got to know your audience.
I think it would be. It was a shame for us to do what happened with the Goldfield.
Yeah.
And I agree, it was already messed up when it actually sunk. But
yeah,
I think it would be a very nice thing. By the way, the Western Union was built just for between Key West and Cuba, but it went all over the Caribbean in later years. So
was it a mail
ship?
Was it a mail ship? Would it use it to carry mail at one point?
No, it was a cable ship.
It was only cable.
Marine cable.
Yeah.
And Tommy, she was built at the Archer shipyard, which was basically across where the submarines are now on the bay.
It was set up there. It was framed there.
Okay.
And then when it went to Key West, they planked it with, I think, some kind of yellow pine, I believe it was.
Okay.
But I think all of the timbers were Madeira mahogany.
Okay.
Which must have come from here.
Okay, wow, yes.
And now you were saying that the foundation got the Western Union.
Yes.
Because I know
it's set up somewhere. I don't know if it's in the water or not, to be honest.
Well, is that the current status of it? Because I heard that it was kind of something was happening with it. It was kind of up in the air.
Well, it was up in the air for some time, but after the foundation got onto it, I don't think it's...
But how long ago, what are you talking about? What time period are you talking about?
That could have been 5 years ago now, I guess.
Okay.
But Tommy, let me ask you one last question. Because how long do you think it would take to build one of those schooners, say 96 feet?
I've not got a clue as to how long they took to build them those days.
Yeah,
but, they used to have like a long trough. They used to heat water and bend the planks.
Yes.
To form the curves on the contour of the body of the bottoms.
Where would you get the material to? The wood?
That's a good question.
The mahogany?
They would cut the material mostly from inland.
Yeah.
They used to look for, I guess, bent limbs and stuff that could form the timbers naturally as much as possible.
Yeah, we did. I don't know.
They had to trim them up.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard our Goldfield show that we had. But they had seemed like a team of people all over that. These certain people in Northside, in East End and stuff that would go in way inland and get the wood and all that.
Yes. My grandfather used to work on. He worked on all of those. He worked at the Goldfield, the Gold Medal, the Klondike, and all of those. He was an oddsman.
The last one actually built here was the Niria.
Yeah.
And the Raymond Lee.
Yeah.
My Uncle Seth built the Raymond Lee, and Uncle Foster and Uncle Ray built the Niria. That was a little sailing vessel. The other one was a motorboat.
Yeah, and one of the people that used to work with your family too was Mr. Felix Thompson from Broilers. He was one of the top carpenters in Georgetown too.
He was a good carpenter. One of the good carpenters. I guess they've all died off now.
Yes, and our history died with them too. And everything died with them.
And the skills and all that.
The skills died with them too.
Yeah. All right,
thank you.
Listening to you in the office, I thought I would give you a buzz. I heard you talking and thought I could correct a couple of things there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that.
I know a lot about that one, that's for sure.
I'm sure there's a bunch more that you know too.
Thank you.
Just don't realize.
Have a good weekend, sir.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Final question from one of our WhatsApp listeners asking, how likely is it now in today that we still have phosphate in Cayman?
Well, when I went to Little Cayman, just before Mr. Linton had passed away, he had sent me down the bush to get some. I came back with a cup of something. Like it was literally, he was on the road hollering, you see it? Go to the left. You got in a hole, go down the hole, scoop some of that up. I was like, boy, you got me good going down the bush picking up dirt. So identifying it is the thing.
Yes, identifying the thing and the value of it. I think we still have some, but
it's not in the quantity.
Not the quantity that we had that we used to ship before.
Yeah, and then like I said, I think there was a powder version, which is kind of like a brown granular.
Yeah,
thing.
they would grind it up. Yes, and it was soluble. That's the one that you would see up behind Triple C. Those big rocks that you see sticking out of the ground. If you go up to them, you will see that they're like limestone powdery. And in Florida, they dig it out of the ground. They have a whole machinery that dig it out of the ground.
I've seen where they've taken and just decimated a little island, basically a little key, and they just mined it. It was like a big mountain almost, and it just took it down to nothing.
Oh, man's progress. I almost would say something, but I'll leave it alone.
Yes.
So 2.5 hours over bird poo-poo.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Steve, you have been not only very generous with your time, but certainly very insightful with your knowledge, and it's intriguing, man. This fascinates, and I don't think people appreciate how remarkable.
This is 1,000 of Cayman history.
Yeah, if that much.
Well, I'm glad to see that I have someone who's interested, and Banker's interested. It's short as it, and you too. And I wish, but how that multiplies, I don't know, because at least some people don't call and say they're interested or interested.
We have a lot of listeners doing it. We have a lot of listeners.
So it's information that for some it's new, for some it's bits and pieces of things they've heard growing up. And for some, it's like incredulous. No, that can't be true. I mean, country that small, that size at that time, 200 years ago, this is what we did.
I can't believe some of this stuff.
We were one of the richest island in the Caribbean before, except Barbados, who had the King Sugar. But we were one of the most important islands in the Caribbean. And
to think of how many, as you said earlier, we had one of the largest fleets.
Shipping fleets.
Right. That speaks
volumes. We built near 400 schooners, 400 ships.
Yeah. Wow. It's I mean, there are some things that
the trees.
I say this, and I hope that people who have the actual resources will start to recognize how important it is. It's like the African proverb that really always reminds me, and not until, let's say, the lion gets his biography, the hunter will always be a hero. There are a lot of our information that I think deliberately and maliciously is being withheld.
And just neglect.
And then neglectful, yeah.
But it's what we've been talking about. It's been shared under the breadfruit tree.
Yes.
And now it's a different...
No, but that's amongst us. But I'm talking about...
We have to take responsibility of our stuff.
You were talking about that, the tree. I was trying to tell somebody the other day, in Georgetown, we had one of the largest trees.
The tamarind tree?
And in the tamarind tree, the largest tree, one of the largest trees in Cayman. A judge had it cut down because nearly every time a case would come to court where the guys were smoking ganja or something like that and say, well, where did this happen? They say by the tamarind tree.
In Rocco, Central.
And the judge ordered the tree to be cut down. That landmark is gone forever.
Isn't that within our lifetime?
That's right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Hercules did that.
Yeah,
Judge Hercules did that
because it kept coming up.
And it's the same thing with our history. And I would like to say to your listening audience, Dwayne,
yes, sir,
that if they're interested in forming a foundation called the Goldfield 2 Foundation to raise funds to build a schooner that our young boys and girls could live on it and sail it and act as a training ship and to keep our heritage alive and to understand where their ancestors came from and the pride and ownership and things like that. I would be interested in helping them to do it. I don't know how much it's going to cost. I remember I had this idea over 10 years ago, and I was asking I was asking Heber, and he was telling me how much he think it could cost. That was Heber Arch. They could build it. They got a big yard. They could build it and launch it the way they used to launch the schooners and
the pilot and all that.
Yes, and the pilings and stuff like that. And in those days was a big day. You had to dress up just like you were going to church. And you had food and music and dancing and all that kind of stuff, and all the men would help to do. It was an island effort.
Yeah,
an island effort.
It's those things that are important, and hopefully these conversations will continue.
Yeah.
Mr. Steve, enjoy your restful weekend.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you. And this is a long weekend.
Yeah, I just found out.
This is a long weekend. I just found it out today too, and I was so.
I just discovered today.
I am not angry about it. But it's not Discovery Day because Columbus did not discover these islands. Columbus sighted them. And that's the difference from discovering.
And it was the Brack that decided.
There's a Brack between the Brack and Little Cayman. It was his nephew.
And he wasn't the first one?
No, he was not the first one either.
That's
okay.
A lot of discoveries today.
Yeah.
Yes.
We and I are discovering some things.
Yes.
But we need to do what you guys do.
Yes.
Ask questions.
Yeah, right? Question stuff. Yeah.
And be willing to seek out, especially in this digital age where the information is there. And I think there are too many people who...
like what we had the discussion, remember? We had on the front cover the tracks, bottom new tracks would be made again.
Yes.
And we're still, I don't think it's tracks. It's nothing to do. It's what we come. Well, it's
Tuesday. We're going to touch on that. I got Monday's holiday for our listeners, so there'll be no for the record with Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Tuesday, Dr. Curtis Barnett will join me.
Yes,
we're going to talk about a number of things because he's a linguist as well.
Dr.
Right?
Barnett he writes a story about Mosquito Key. He writes a story about he writes a story about a narrative about Mosquito Key. I think he calls it a poem, but I think it's a narrative story.
Epistle, some would say.
Yes, so I asked him to deliver some of that on Tuesday.
Definitely will. And then the idea that we're talking about, just the way we use words incorrectly, we repeat it. And when our media, or print media, or electronic media.
And again, there's nobody challenging it. So.
Well, when they do, they seem to be considered disrespectful.
And then we don't value our own. We can anything that comes in and they say that's how it is. Okay, that's how it is.
Banker,
so we not only don't challenge it, we boost it up.
Banker, the next thing I'm going to get you interested in
elections.
No.
Okay, good night, folks.
Not food and elections. I'm going to try to get you interested into starting a Cayman Historical Foundation.
Sure.
Yeah.
And every month or every quarter we put out a historical pamphlet.
That'll work.
That's what we need to do, you and I and Dwayne. Cayman Historical Foundation put up a historical pamphlet.
All right.
And how a thing, know your history.
And people can come challenge us and we can have a discussion.
Have a discussion.
What information you got, this is why I got. Oh, really?
All right,
so the next thing I want to hear, that we get this foundation off the ground, Cayman Historical Foundation off the ground.
Well, we'll do that soon, if not.
And I understand that you can get funds from other foundations around the world to help.
You know what? There are things we can do, and I can even see fellowships at other universities. You know, the resident and fellow and resident.
That's right. That's right.
Gents, enjoy your weekend. To our listeners,
you.
thank you very much. If you live here and call it your home, be respectful, not even only with respect to the way you treat others and how you drive on the roads and the courtesies you extend, but you take your dogs, you put them on a leash and they're muzzled, you walk them, you scoop after them, and you don't curse in public, you don't go around with drunkenness, and you show great deference to all and sundry.
No, I don't have a dog, but
no.
You said driving. You said no cursing. I'm like,
no, you're not looking at. I'm thinking out loud, because if we have a civilized society that acts with a sense of respect, has value for its people, right? We live better, safe, and we all enjoy a better standard. We had such a
society.
And we
came from such a society.
So let's return
and
there.
Today it's all changed now.
And if you don't believe you can get ruined, just look at CNN.
Yeah.
That's what it got.
All right, thank you so much to our listeners. Monday is a public holiday. Wow. If you have to work.
And you're not joking this time?
No, sir. No.
Enjoy the holiday.
Monday is a public holiday. It would have been the one that wasn't an extra one that we put in when other people came, but this one's a real one. So enjoy it. And until Monday, we'll see you on Tuesday. Be blessed.
SeeWahAhSayin.
SeeWahAhSayin.
SeeWahAhSayin. It happening every third Friday on Talk Today.
Jointly produced by the National Museum and Radio Cayman. A language, history, and culture show. Remember, it's every third Friday on 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Proudly sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
SeeWahAhSayin.
Business owners, managers, and marketers interested in learning how digital and social media marketing can help grow your business? Join Yellow Media Group Monday, May 27th at Yellow Digicon and unleash your company's digital potential. Learn from international digital marketing and social media experts, including speakers from Google and Matchcraft, plus a Fortune 500 digital marketing strategist. Complimentary registration for Yellow Media Group customers. Register now at digiconcayman.com or findyellow.com. Presented by Yellow Media Group in partnership with